Hello, Scouty Paws. Hope you're good. Oh my god. YouTube chat, 1 second. I just got to do some fucking fiddling. I'm your wicked Uncle Ernie. I'm glad you don't see or hear me as I fiddle about. Jesus Christ. The level of fiddling going on here is tough. La Boo Boo. What was that? Did someone just donate or something? Right, I'm done. Let's go. Hello, KRT Tops. That is perhaps the earliest ever I've received a donation while streaming. Thank you so much for the 50 NOK. Incredibly kind. Let's go indeed. Hello from Upside Down Land. Where is that? Israel? No, I'm joking. I'm assuming that's Australia. But again, thank you so much for the donation. I hope everyone's good. I hope everyone's enjoying their Saturday. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of working. Not quite yet. I think we'll have to see how it goes. The clavicular video is ready to go. I'm just waiting on thumbnail, which shouldn't be too long. It wasn't working last night, though. I don't know why. Also, I tried to upload it, but I moved the I cancelled the podcast. So we're recording tonight, which I'm excited for. I just don't really feel that prepped, but we move. I'm also really in need of some water, and I need my fan up here, but those are issues for another time to work at. Well, they're issues for right now. But yeah, hello everyone. I've got too much shit in this room as well. There are 2 mugs in front of me, and only one of them is from today, which is not great. La Boo Boo. Oh my goodness. Take my dollary ruse. Ravy baby, thank you so much for the 10 Australian dollars. Bloody hell. Thank you so much. Hello. Incredibly kind. Thank you for supporting the channel. Incredibly kind. Sorry, I'm just getting into the swing of streaming. Crazy. You guys are going crazy today over on YouTube. Incredibly kind. Thank you so much. Right. I don't want to do Wordle today. Can we please play a game of Mahjong? Oh, you want to do Wordle today? That is fantastic. We'll do Wordle. You really want to do Wordle today? Okay, fine. So I'm going to start with a great guess. What's the best guess I can think of? Oh, I know. Jazzy. That's a brilliant guess. Yeah. Rise. Oh, wow. It does actually start with that. Allowed? Aloha? That was actually a pretty good way to start. Haramco. Labu. Oh my goodness. Trying to take my spot, Ravy. Please, let's get a Wordle. That incredibly kind. Thank you for the 100 NOK. You guys are going fucking crazy on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much already. Incredibly kind. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, KR Tops. Incredibly kind donation. My man, shout out. Thank you for supporting the channel, as always. Tanis, you set me on a path to do the Wordle incredibly quickly, which I did very well. But yeah, thank you both for the incredibly kind donations. Sorry, my phone's going crazy. I don't know what this is. Sorry, I'm always struggling. I don't know what's going on. Coffee Master Plus. Hello, morning from the UK. Also, one thing that is funny is I find the amount of people who have like names related to coffee who hop on my streams and comment. It's kind of crazy. You guys seem to like coffee. I don't know what the hell that's about. It seems to be a common denominator amongst adults, wherever they may be, that they kind of like coffee. What up, wankers? That's not a kind word to say. Aloha is crazy. Is it really a word? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Oh, fuck. I don't want to subscribe. I've been bested. Yeah. Can you bring the mic closer? The mic is quite close. Why? Am I really quiet? We'll have to see. Oh, I think that might be you. I don't think there is, I don't think there's any issue with my microphone. I feel like that's you, Ray. I don't know, though. I'd be kind of surprised if there is an issue with the microphone. Has anyone else thought that it was too quiet? Just listening to it back myself, it seems fine. Fuck. I think there is, I don't think there's any issue with my microphone. No. I don't know if anyone else noted it. Sound is fine. Yeah. I think it's okay. I just think that would be too close because I do get quite noisy. Also, I'm feeling a bit just overwhelmed right now. Hold on. I'm not sure if it's because the light's right in my eyes or because it's too hot up here, but who knows? Sometimes it's quiet when you're far away from it, but it's okay. Okay, yeah, okay. I'll move it closer then. Sweet. That's fine then. Okay, I don't know what any of these are. Primo. Madre. Rand, Naira. Is Naira a currency? I think these are currencies from Africa. Rand, South African Rand. Is there another one here? I'm gonna have a Zin in solidarity. My man. Does anyone know if there's any other currency in here? I think it is. Leon? I feel like that's a currency. That's a Sierra Leonean Leon. That's what that is. I just Googled it to check if it is, but it is that. There's one more in here, which I would guess a primo. No, they're African currencies. They're not. They're not. That's the commonality between them. Primo. Kwanzaa. I'm gonna guess it's a Kwanzaa. Wait, that's the blue one. Oh. Hijo. What? Why is it Hijo? Hijo. Madre, Primo, and what's the other? Abuela. Maternal words? Spanish relatives. I don't know. I never did Spanish. Strip club, strip mall, strip poker, strip tear, strip steak. Is that it? Yes. Oh, nice. Damn, I did pretty well on both the Wordle and the other one. I don't know what it is. Hijo? I don't know. You put them on your gums. Yeah, it's a nicotine pouch that you put on your gums. That's kind of the trick of a Zin. It's quality. It's an incredible thing for not smoking cigarettes. But yeah, it's enjoyable. Hijo. Hijo. I don't know. Hijo? Hijo. I don't know. I really don't know. My fave Brit in the whole entire world. Thank you. And there's not much stiff competition amongst Brits. At all, really. By the way, I have become enamored with a news story that is the most insane news story I think I've seen in ages. It's so insane that I might just bring it up to Isaac on the podcast because it's so wild. Hold on, let me see if my chair's too far down. No, it's not. Also, I hate it when this happens. My my headset cable has gone like this. Look at that. That's disgusting. So I've developed an obsession with this news story about AI, and it involves Boko Haram and jumping motorcycles over pits of glass and fire. I think it said fire, if I remember correctly. I might just be making that up. So this lady, Antonia Juelis? I don't know. Anyway, she's in a hotel room in northwest Nigeria. I opened a leading AI chatbot, turned my laptop toward a former Boko Haram commander, and asked if he'd used it. He nodded. You type in the question, like, how can I build a bomb? And then it tells you how. It is like a human robot. We used it a lot. So this lady basically studied and met with ex-Boko Haram members and was asking them how you like can use it as a terror group. So I'll see if this mentions it here. No, it doesn't. So it's only in the New York Times article. I'm actually probably going to read her whole thing because it's so interesting. Listen to this. We saw in a movie, they tried to attack a military base in eastern Nigeria a couple of years ago, and they got stuck because there was a defensive trench around it. And so apparently they said, we saw in a movie how motorcycles can jump over bridges. A former Boko Haram commander told Antonia Juelis, a terrorism and technology researcher at Cambridge. We used AI to learn how to do this. We gave it information like what motorcycles we use and the distance we need to jump and so on. And it gave us steps on what we have to do. Using tips from chatbots, mechanics modified the motorcycles to allow for faster acceleration and top speed. The riders dug their own holes, filled them with broken glass and fire, and practiced jumps, sometimes with fatal outcomes, until they achieved enough aerial liftoff to mount a successful attack, defectors said. So apparently these guys were asking AI how to jump motorcycles over trenches. And I don't know why for the test you have to put... Why for jumping over a test you have to put glass and fire in it? That feels insane. I mean, already this is an insane story. But the fact that they're just using AI to do this is unbelievable. Oh God, is AI even endangering... Well, I don't think it is endangering their jobs. I don't think previously they had a guy who was an expert in jumping motorcycles specifically over the... Jumping motorcycles over, you know, things. Also, why would Boko Haram be CIA backed? Aren't they kind of against CIA and what the Americans have tried to be getting up to in Africa, which is establishing, like, you know, kind of dictatorial states that sort of do what they want? Like, somewhere everyone makes out that, like, Ibrahim Traore is some kind of, I don't know, amazing figure, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've seen him meeting with the Israelis and stuff, and one of the biggest threats he faces is that, you know, militant Islamist groups have taken over parts of the country and continually take over parts of the country. Do you think it's Chinese or American? Apparently it's both. Apparently they use pretty much any AI they can get their hands on. They need an AI Evel Knievel. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, actually, you're right. I guess the guy who's lost his job is the Boko Haram Evel Knievel, who was the expert on jumping over, you know, who was an expert in jumping over... in jumping over ditches. He's no Thomas Sankara. Do you know what I'm always surprised by every time I see this? Is there is just this massive dearth of videos about Thomas Sankara on YouTube. Like, you see a couple, right? It's like TRT World. But when you search it up, you don't see that many people talking about Thomas Sankara. What is this video?
Revolution has a price. Not the...
like short form, you see. I made a couple of videos about him, but there's just not much here. There's this idiot Prax Ben who's like a little Nazi talking about him. I'm sure he's saying something awesome. God, I am really obsessed with this bizarre genre of debate videos. Is socialism better than capitalism with Turn Left podcast? I'm good. But yeah, what was I saying? There was something I had to say about that. Oh, there's no videos about Thomas Sankara. I think Isaac and I might do a podcast episode. Someone asked for it, and we'd already planned it. We just haven't got round to it. But I want to write an actual long-form video, and I was trying to get Isaac to maybe think about doing some kind of collab thing. Well, Isaac was interested. Perhaps we will do that one day.
Clash.
But yeah. The thumbnails, I know. But yeah, by the way, I would actually recommend that you check out this story. It's really, really, really bizarre. They're talking about how much and how beneficial this is. Apparently, it can help you design explosives. It even said chemical... Listen to this. So, Tech Against Terrorism, an international counter-terrorism non-profit supported by the UN, last week released results from AI tests gouging how more than 24 leading models responded to thousands of prompts drawn from real-world terrorism cases. The tests were met with full refusals just 57% of the time, while prompts about explosives were declined about 80% of the time. Improvised chemical weapons were only about a third of the time. So it is fucking insane that you can just, it is fucking insane that you can just do this, by the way. That this is like a real thing that is just going on in the world. It's nice to know what AI is being used for. You can link the article if you'd like. I think, fuck. Yeah, I'm using a paywall remover, so I don't want to link it. I'm not using a paywall remover. I wouldn't encourage anyone to do that. Here you go. Here's a link to the article if you want. Yeah, the Sandinistas might be interesting. Imagine if Timothy McVeigh used ChatGPT. The knowledge was always publicly, but now everyone has it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's also just incredibly quickly accessible that you can just basically be able to get... You can basically be able to get this stuff so simply. Sorry, how does this have 600 likes? Them, build a bomb for decolonization. Here you go. How else can I help? Me, what is a mitochondria? AI, you have been reported to the authorities. What's the joke here? Are you the guy who Destiny reacted to? When did Destiny react to me? I have no idea. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't care. I'm not engaging with that. Speaking of Sandinistas, did you see... I saw that story. I think there was maybe more to it. I think there was maybe more to that story than they claimed. I don't know. Yeah. Let's have a look. Was it talking about... I haven't seen that. Have you ever seen the interview where Tucker Carlson said that he was a freedom fighter? What? No? Tucker Carlson. Iran. I've never seen that interview. That would be great if you could send it to me. The Google AI, I know, I really don't like this new, like, Ask Gemini feature that just always pops up. I really am not a fan of it. I will say. Hello, everyone. Yes, hello, Trainwreck. Sorry, I'm feeling a bit strange. I don't know why. Yeah, I saw also, what the hell is that story going on in Ireland that someone was taking a massive bomb over to trying to cross into Northern Ireland, right? Or was it to cross from Northern Ireland? A fucking crazy story. Also, I saw that Karim Khan has been removed from the ICC. It is incredible, by the way, that this is just a publicly available thing tweeted out by Guy Azriel, who's a diplomatic correspondent for Israeli News, who says, against the backdrop of the dismissal of the ICC prosecutor Karim Khan, a senior Israeli official tells me that Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar played an active role in efforts to advance the move. According to the official, Sa'ar oversaw a dedicated task force and employed intensive diplomatic efforts aimed at securing Khan's removal from office. What fills your... Did you hear about the Albanian protests? Which Albanian protests? I don't know. What kind of bottoms are girls even wearing? Ballet flats with this point. I am old. We used to wear them with like gaucho pants. I have no idea what that's in reference to. Irish car bomb in 2026. That is crazy. Oh, heading north. Right, I see. I'm just going to open my door because I'm too hot. And I had to close my window because the wind is blowing crazy. Oh my god, it's disgusting. Whoever said that they were ready for the end of summer, yeah, I tend to agree with you. Yeah, I do find it kind of crazy that an Israeli official would admit to this just publicly. I don't think it's implausible that Karim Khan was may have done the things he's accused of, but I don't know. I think that there is just like this massive attempt to smear him and throw him out, and I think that that's really what this comes down to. Ultimately he went against Israel and they didn't like that much at the International Criminal Court. No one cares about the victims. If they did, they would look at the systemic issues that cause something like this, the harm in removing something like this, and the harm in removing. I think that that's it. I think that that's where they. Yeah. Gonna be 34 on Wednesday. Yeah. I mean, in the UK or where? It's not that hot here right now. It's really not that hot. It's really not that hot here right now, but yeah. Happy early birthday. Oh, gonna be 34 on Wednesday. I see, not the weather. Yeah, happy birthday. Happy early birthday. Crazy times. Sorry, I'm just faffing around. Also, I'm very excited by the fact that the UK has its first ever male manipulator prime minister. We have the first ever man who's a male manipulator. He is always doing shit like this where I'm not showing this. He's singing along to, I think it's There Is a Light by the Smiths. Yeah, it is There Is a Light. So this Andy Burnham is now our prime minister. He's also planning on introducing some inheritance tax nonsense, which seemingly benefits rich people. Yeah, he's basically saying that inheritance tax will be a flat 10% levy on all estates at death to fund a national care service offering free social care. I mean, the major problem with this is just richer people will find more and more ways to ignore and get away with this. I'm sure that funding a national care service is a great idea, but at the same time, a 10% levy on everything, I feel like rich people just get away with it. But he is, yeah.
I mean, he was monstered by the
5 things.
This guy is trying to be Mamdani with like a slick media strategy.
I've done in my first week as Prime Minister. On Monday, I launched a new national drive to end rough sleeping. On Tuesday,
Oh, he's got music on. Chris, most politicians are male manipulators. I mean, true. I was mentioning this Tucker interview. Okay, I'll look at it in a second. The reason I say he's a male manipulator, though, is he listens to the Smiths and pretends to be left-wing. Because this guy, look at his cabinet. Someone pointed this out. Apparently, these are all of the people in his cabinet who are former members of Friends of Israel or current or former. So he himself is, his Chancellor of the Exchequer, John Healey, is, Foreign Secretary Ed Miliband, yes he is, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood was not affiliated, but she's still a Zionist, Defense Secretary Streeting, he was, Health Secretary Yvette Cooper, Housing Secretary Angela Rayner, she's just a speaker at the pro-Israel events, Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds, Energy Secretary Miata Fahnbulleh, I don't know about them. Justice Secretary Alex Norris, Education Secretary Lucy Powell, Work and Pension Secretary Pat McFadden, Heidi Alexander, Transport Secretary. It is actually fucking crazy. I mean, he's going to be the exact same as Starmer, I think, just more charismatic and Perhaps that'll be it. I think it'll be the same policy towards Israel, which is a bit of condemnation, but nothing more than that, really. I think that that's all it boils down to. Thank you so much. Finally got my TikToks out for the day, so it's nice to have something to watch whilst getting dinner. Very nice. I'm glad to hear. Has its party conference and refused to allow debate on Middle East policy. It is kind of funny that these parties literally just cower and have this never-ending desire to cling to Israel. Every single of these pseudo-left-wing parties, these centrist parties, are just doing this kind of nonsense. Yeah. I don't know. What did Marcus say? I didn't see. I can't see. Oh, I think I've just got the thumbnail from Ethan's basement for my clavicular video. That'll be off straight away. That'll be off straight after this stream, or up straight after this stream if any of you are interested in watching it. So, yeah, that'll be the next video out on my YouTube. But yeah, I think he is the first ever male manipulator, and I know someone said most politicians are male manipulators, but you don't understand how specific this is. He talks about loving the Smiths, he pretends to be a left-winger, he pretends that he's like an everyman, although, yeah, Morrissey was certainly not that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, why I feel so funky today. Maybe I need some more caffeine. The Albanian poster called The Flamingo Revolution. It would be a good read, worth your time. Yeah, maybe I will check it out. I saw that there's this cockroach thing going on in India right now, which seems quite interesting. Was this specifically the Flamingo Revolution? Let's have a... okay, maybe there's like a quick summary about this that I can just throw on real quick. Flamingo Revolution. So they're this all started with it is related to the Kushner thing. Is it still ongoing? The only stuff seems to be 2 weeks old, but they've continued for 54 days, so they're tear-gassing protesters.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We end today's show with the latest from Albania, where thousands...
Yeah, Indians are protesting because they found out about Asmongold and his horrific treatment of cockroaches. That's exactly what Indian people are most concerned about right now.
Thousands have taken to the streets in the capital, Tirana, for over a month in the biggest unrest since the collapse of communism 30 years ago. The so-called Flamingo Revolution began last month over environmental and transparency concerns related to the development of a multi-billion-dollar luxury resort linked to President Trump's daughter Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner. The massive development would turn an abandoned Soviet weapons base known as Sazan into a luxury island resort and threaten one of the last wild areas and its lagoon that hosts more than 2,500 species. What began as an environmental protest has turned to anger at the entire political system. Over the July 4th weekend, tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets of Albania's capital, Tirana.
I mean, this is titled Could Bring Down the Government. I feel like it is a kind of, yeah, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I really don't know.
It's been too long with this kind of political culture, well, where the Prime Minister and the political parties of this country think they can do anything. There are no barriers to what they think is acceptable in politics. I'm here because I want an end to this Machiavellian political culture where power and greed justify anything.
As calls mount for the resignation of the Albanian Prime Minister...
Is the CJP the cockroach janta, the party, the cockroach janta party? Is that what you mean by the CJP?
Who won a fourth term last year. He's refused to budge on the Kushner-Trump-linked development. This is Prime Minister Rama speaking to Reuters last month.
Oh my God, he's got the, what's it called? What's his name in the film? Oh my God, how am I forgetting the name of that film? Oh my God. Jesus. V for Vendetta. V, the V mask. Hello, Soph.
Defending the luxury resort project.
It has never been a question if this will go ahead or not. This is blessed for the country. An investment of 4 billion euro in a country.
It is fucking crazy that people are acting as if this is some kind of blessing at all. I did get V for Vendetta eventually. I know it's like a Guy Fawkes thing, but it is much more associated with V for Vendetta.
Country that has
Wait, actually, is that true? Vendetta mask. It was created for V for Vendetta. Interesting.
27 and a bit more billion euro GDP. Speaks by itself.
For more on what's unfolding in Albania.
It's also really funny to say this kind of stuff because it is obviously not going to benefit a random average Albanian person. This is literally just for very, very, very rich people. That's it.
We go to the capital, Tirana. We're joined by two guests.
I finally subscribed. Cheers, mate. Thank you, bro. You are stupendous.
Ridi Mucci is a member of the Albanian parliament representing Tirana, member of the left-wing political party Lëvizja Bashk, and its sole representative in the...
Yeah, I did see that that's kind of what the Indian protests are about. They got what they wanted, right? They've literally stopped now. The education minister has resigned. It's because of some fuck up, right, that they handed out the exam, or it got leaked before.
The Albanian parliament. And we're joined by Bora Mima, a longtime labor organizer, researcher, and activist, also a founding member of the left-wing political party Lëvizja Bashk. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Ridi Mucci, if you can talk about these massive protests, why they're called the Flamingo Revolution, and what this island is all about, and what Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump's interest is here.
Thank you, Amy. So the reason why it's called the Flamingo Revolution, it relates to the fact that part of the project for the development of the resort is the lagoon, where many flamingos visit every year, and which had to be removed from an area that is environmentally protected with a special law in 2024 in order for the project to carry on. Today is actually the 40th continued day of protests in Tirana, and what started as a wish, let's say, by Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner to, let's say, invest in...
What's the alternative put forward by the people protesting? Like, what is it that they want? They just want a change of... do they want a change of a specific kind?
In the island of Sazan, as well as the lagoon, precipitated into a protest that has the potential, we feel, to bring down the government, and not just the government of Prime Minister Edi Rama, but a whole system that has been built for the past 35 years in Albania.
And explain who Prime Minister Rama is.
So the story involves, let's say, money laundering from drug traffickers, the stripping away of property rights of local residents, as well as environmental destruction. Because the resort in this lagoon in Zvernets is a typical case of touristic mega resorts along the Albanian coastline, as well as skyscrapers in the city center, designed by famous international architects, but allegedly used for money laundering by drug traffickers. Prime Minister Edi Rama is at the same time head of this National Council on Territory Planning, which means that he's the one that signs all these construction permits. And this special anti-corruption unit that we have recently in Albania has issued 20 arrest warrants for people related to drug trafficking who have acquired more than 1 million square meters of construction permits by Edi Rama. At the same time as what I would call a process of accumulation of wealth by disappropriation of local residents who are stripped by their property.
I do understand that the whole thing is that this was started, that they did not want the Kushner and Trump developing the land. But talking about collapsing the government, what is the alternative, Prophet?
Claims, either by falsifying documents, such as the case of Zvernets, in which the person who claims to be the rightful owner is actually under investigation for drug trafficking and living in United States, or through this special law on strategic investors, as it's called, through which the government can strip away the property rights for the benefit of the country, all the while destroying the environment. As I mentioned earlier, that is why there were these amendments made in 2024 to remove this lagoon area from the environmentally protected areas of Albania, in order to pave the way, let's say, for this construction.
I think I just looked it up. I thought it would be. I think it would be the majority. They're the majority, but in a plurality. So they're the majority of a plurality, or the largest majority of Albanians are Muslim, I think. You said to look up the Flamingo Revolution. So this is what they're demanding. The non-negotiable resignation of Edi Rama and the entire government cabinet, the establishment of a non-partisan technical transition government with a clearly defined 12-month mandate, the drafting of a new constitution guaranteeing full equality of citizens before the law to be approved through a national referendum, amendment of the electoral code, amendment of legislation governing the financing of political parties and organizations, a lifetime limit of no more than 2 full or partial terms of any individual serving as Prime Minister, the continued pursuit of the movement's initial economic and environmental demands, including repeal of the amendments to the law on protected areas, repeal of the amendments to the law of cultural heritage, repeal of the legislative package known as the Mountain Package, repeal of the status and legal framework governing strategic investment, the establishment of a new social contract between citizens and the state to be drafted through consultations with intellectuals, technical experts, and non-partisan citizens, proposed directly by participants in the protest square. Interesting. So it's basically the collapse of the government and the election of something more accountable.
Project.
Before we end, I want to bring in Bora Mem, a long-time labor organizer, researcher, and activist. If you can talk about the violence that the protesters have been left with, and the fact that the Prime Minister, Edi Rama, says that this project, the Trump-Kushner project, is going to happen.
Hello. So as it was mentioned before, this is a project that is being influenced not just by Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, but also it's a money laundering operation, international money laundering operation. And of course that the Prime Minister Edi Rama will say this not just because he wants to still be in power and to hold his position, but also due to the fact that
I do love this feature of the Trump administration. They are just like best friends with every drug trafficker in the world.
Many foreign and not only interests are engaged in this, and involved in this process. When it comes to the violence of the protest, it was not only in the first day when the community protesters and different activists were protesting in the fences that were enclosed in the area of Zverneti, which is a protected area, but also a part of it belongs to the community, where one of the community members was dragged down by private security and a gun was held in his hand and the police was not intervening, which shows where the state's police loyalty lies.
Yeah, I suppose Trump is just the most nakedly friendly with, you know, these kind of drug traffickers. But when it comes to like this generally, it is just a feature of politics, worldwide politics.
And it's not with the Albanian people and it's not with the law, but it's with the ones who actually are dispossessing us from our public lands and our environment and islands or natural protected areas. There was also a protest held just last week at the Parliament of Albania where some protesters were throwing eggs at the MPs' cars because the MPs of the both main political parties, such as the Socialist Party or the Democratic Party, they are both pro supporting Trump's and Kushner's project in Albania. So after this, the police use this as an excuse to attack and to violently intervene and arrest. And not only this, but there were cases of protesters being arrested and beaten up in the police stations, which is a breach of human rights. There are many institutions, international organizations, but also our MP or other activists who are trying to engage with this. I believe that Edi Rama is going to say this due to the fact that he's actually in his worst political position he has ever been in the last 3 decades, that he's actually in power in Albania in different positions. I believe that the protests will go on and the people are very determined. So whatever he's saying, if not tomorrow, but quite soon, this is going to be the end of Edi Rama's political career, but of a whole political system, which is actually serving to the oligarchy. If I can just add something.
We're going to have to leave it there because the show is ending. I want to thank you both for being with us. Bora Mema, longtime labor organizer and founding...
I guess I'll look into this more. It does sound quite interesting. I knew that there were big protests ongoing. I didn't realize that... Well, I knew that there had been previously big protests, but I didn't know if they're still... I didn't know if they were still ongoing. Also, someone posted one of the greatest jokes from Four Lions. Maybe I'll talk about this on the podcast. Has your dad ever bought a Jaffa orange? Once or twice? Right, he's buying nukes for Israel, bro. He's a Jew. If any of you haven't seen Four Lions, I'd highly recommend it. It's one of the best jokes you'll see. One of the best films as well. I don't know. I don't know enough about what Democracy Now! Actually is. I only ever watch YouTube clips. I've never seen a full thing. I don't know why they're so militant with it. Why they're so militant about how long it's allowed to last. Okay, right. On that note, we'll get into the meat of what we're actually going to talk about today. What do you guys... Wait. I want to show you the thumbnail that Ethan's Basement has cooked up for the clavicular video. What do you think about this, guys? This is a fire thumbnail. This looks really good, actually. The perfect propagandist. What do you guys think of the new thumbnail for the video? Would a love of Four Lions... Oh, I could actually do... That is actually a great idea. Four Lions. Four Lions would be a great movie review. It'd be good to do with a British Muslim, actually. That would probably be the perfect person to do with it. The Red. Who's Ethan's Basement? Ethan's Basement is the guy who edits my videos. And because I haven't been doing videos, he's been doing thumbnails for me. Like, I just edit my own videos. Also, sorry, there is like this collaboration of these two people who are utterly insane, who comment on my video. Who comment on my Twitter. So they're two people. They're one called Old Man Dawson, who has regularly commented shit on my profile, who has 48,000 posts. And then Stevie Ricketts, who since 2022 has 120,000 posts. I actually learned something tragic recently, Sophie, which is that Lindsey Graham died before he could become the all-time record holder for the most appearances on Meet the Press. Who has appeared most on Meet the Press? I think John McCain is the... I think John McCain has the most appearances on Meet the Press. I'm pretty sure. Yes, he has like 70 plus appearances, and Lindsey Graham had like 64 appearances. So it's tragic. It needs genocide maxing. Yeah, I've been cooking up titles, so I have 3 titles for the video, which are... Oh, it did go straight to Google Docs. why Clavicular is the perfect Israeli propagandist. Why was Clavicular really in Israel? And Clavicular's Israeli propaganda tour was insane. Was Lindsay's ever captured? What does that mean? Lindsay is with the other half of Fetterman's brain in hell. 100%. Yeah, I saw Matt Bernstein did a video about Lindsey Graham. Maybe I should watch that one day, but we'll see. For like a decade, and he's still in front. Yeah, I mean, John McCain was on it all the time. Apparently, he appeared 72 times, and I think Lindsey Graham was on 64. So Lindsey Graham was about to hit his 65th appearance. So, but unfortunately, he died the day before he was going to do it. And he also kind of died because of Meet the Press, because apparently Lindsey Graham waited until after Meet the Press to he waited until after Meet the Press to get help about he said he wasn't feeling well. Yeah, I'll try all of the different titles. Title seems to do decently well. Situation is insane. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking I've got all three. I'm going to test all three. I think people will probably enjoy it. It is a tight video, and I listened to it yesterday, and I enjoyed it. It's still so deeply ironic for neo-Nazi Clav to be rep laundering for Israel. Well, I have an even more insane one for you. So, Vlaams, if any of you are Belgian, you can tell me how to say this. Wait, we can listen to how it's said.
Vlaams Belang.
Oh, it is just...
Vlaams Belang.
Vlaams Belang.
Vlaams Belang.
Vlaams Belang. So Vlaams Belang is a Belgian racist organization that was part of something called it's a rebrand of Vlaams Blok. So there's a teeny mistake in my video, but I corrected it in the things. But anyway, this organization was invited to Israel. This guy, Roland Reis, was basically appeared in Dutch TV to cast doubt on the number of Jewish people murdered by the Nazis. And he also questioned, I didn't even know this, he questioned the authenticity of Anne Frank's diary. Jesus. Anyway, the Vlaams Blok was invited to Israel. And you think about how these people act about the Mufti, who, the Mufti was like one guy who associated with, the Nazis. You just have straight up Nazis still associated with them, still being supported. This guy was put up for election at the age of 90, by the way. This Roland Reis guy. He was put up for election in 2024 by the Vlaams Belang. He was put up for election by them in 2024. Israel invited them to the country, this organization, in 2011. So this whole notion of saying that, you're like being surprised about Clavicular, to me it doesn't actually surprise. They love neo-Nazis because they actually know that most of these people don't really have that strong political convictions, especially around something like Israel. Look at how Nick Fuentes was saying. Nick Fuentes had a video that was insane the other day. He said that the whole sticks up for Sinwar arc was incredibly gay, which is really quite something. I didn't realize we were on the Sticks Up for Sinwar arc. And yeah, it's a great target audience because they just hate the other. And who's the big other in European society? It's certainly not Jewish people anymore. It's Muslims. Muslims are the big other. I also heard someone claiming that the Mufti tried to establish concentration camps in Nablus, but I've been unable to find any information about this. There seems to be a guy who might be Stephen Wagner, might be the person who might have the answer to this. He's written some things about him. This guy, he's at Brunel University. I don't know if he was involved in this article, which was actually quite good. I'd actually recommend checking this out if you're interested. But yeah, I followed him today. Maybe I'll interrogate him. Oof. Yes, Hassan is the modern day Mufti. Yeah, I do think it is just that as well. These people are great targets for propaganda. And also, I think the perfect thing with Clavicular is how vapid his content is. Like, straight up, Clavicula's content just revolves entirely around beauty. And I've spoken about this in the video. I'll leave it for you guys to watch there. I did see Clavicular actually got beaten up today. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the main story of the day, which is those bloody Houthis. The Houthis have been going bloody crazy. The Ansar Allah Houthis have been firing missiles at Saudi Arabia. And drones, I should mention.
Yemen's Ansar Allah Houthis say they've carried out a series of retaliatory strikes targeting Saudi Arabia. The Iran-backed group says the operation focused on facilities belonging to Aramco, the world's largest company in Jizan and Yanbu. The Houthis have vowed to maintain their naval blockade on Saudi Arabia, whilst warning they're preparing to expand.
I'm not quite surprised. I'm not surprised at all that there is apparently news of Trump talking about a ceasefire. That all of a sudden Trump has started being a bit like, oh, I'm kind of interested in a ceasefire. And also, by the way, I don't know if any of you knew this, for the first time in 2 weeks, the US did not strike Iran last night. They did not attack them at all. The Iranian letter here is saying the US has reportedly proposed a temporary ceasefire with Iran and is seeking a return to the previous MOU, with discussions also expected to include Yemen, according to sources. The proposal comes as Washington looks for an off-ramp after several days of escalating military exchanges across the region. However, Iran is reportedly unlikely to accept the latest US offer, with sources indicating Tehran remains unwilling to return to negotiations under the current conditions, which I do think is, yeah, I do think that this is plausible, genuinely. I do think that this is plausible, that this might be what is going on. Well, the thing is market manipulation normally happens when they're trying to jawbone the market. You do it during the week or on a Monday morning, because then it sets a precedent for the market for the entire week. Whereas doing it on a Sunday or Saturday, excuse me, when there's no actual conflict feels pretty bizarre. Especially in relation to especially in relation to this, the only conflict has been the Houthis attacking Saudi Arabia, which is somewhat disconnected from the rest of this.
And military operations should the conflict escalate further.
The Yemeni armed forces have conducted 2 military operations. The first targeted several installations of Aramco in Jizan with several ballistic missiles and drones. The second operation targeted several sensitive Aramco facilities in Yanbu with several ballistic and cruise missiles and drones. The 2 operations were successful with the grace of God. The operations and the strikes were precise.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty evident that 100 is a pressure point for oil and gas. It's not a point you want to be at for, you know, and especially the gasoline prices for Trump is not somewhere that he can sustain or accept. But the whole thing is that so much of what they've got out of this and got out of the worst is thanks to China, but it's also thanks to Saudi Arabia rerouting so much oil. And all of a sudden, that might not be a possibility, that they can't reroute oil anymore. So what happens then? Like, what happens then? Which is just disaster for the global economy. Already, it is so evident that problems are arising. But, you know, we just have to accept that and just wait until they keep happening.
Seems to have paused the strikes on Iran after 13 straight nights of attacks. But this morning, Saudi Arabia is intercepting missiles fired from Yemen. And it's after the Saudi-led coalition launched attacks against what it described as Houthi military targets in Yemen. Well, military analyst Robert Clark is with me in the studio. Robert, good to see you. So two developments. There's the whole Saudi-Yemeni side, and then this lull in fighting, if we can even call it that. It's just been one day.
Do you know what is crazy? The US spent about $7 billion bombing the Houthis early last year, Ansar Allah Houthis. They spent $7 billion and it achieved absolutely nothing. The Houthis retain, or the Ansar Allah Houthis retain, their most important tactic, which is targeting shipping in the Red Sea, so they can still do it.
Between the US and Iran, what do you think we can read into that?
I think it's definitely a lull in the fighting compared to the last 13 days of escalatory strikes between the Americans and the Iranians. I think it's really interesting. I think it's certainly a bit of space, diplomatic space, that's sorely needed, to be fair, for the rest of the region as well to breathe, not just the Americans and the Iranians, and try to really come back for diplomacy and try to rework the misunderstanding around the Memorandum of Understanding, which has broken down over the last 13 days in the Straits of Hormuz itself. So I think that's crucially just giving people a bit of time for pause to sort of rework those elements that are sort of sticking.
I mean, let's see how that develops. But you mentioned that obviously this is engulfing the rest of the region. We've seen attacks from Iran on Bahrain, on Kuwait, on Qatar.
Yeah, I did not realize that VLCC stood for Very Large Crude Carrier. I assumed it was something much more technical, but apparently the major issue is that a VLCC tanker carries about 2 million barrels of oil per day, and they're unable to get through. They're basically unable to go through the Strait of Hormuz. You can only send 1 million. Sorry, not the Strait of Hormuz. The Suez Canal. So you can only send 1 million per boat. So it costs double the amount of boats plus a longer journey. So it's kind of like, what do you do there?
As well. And now we're seeing this new development with Saudi Arabia because there, and I think maybe we can pull it up on the screen right now, it's the other strait, the Bab al-Mandab Strait, which is another way in which Saudi can get the oil out. So what's happening there, and how does that tie into what's happening specifically between the US and Iran?
No, it's really important, and I think quite a few of us have been speculating for a while when the Bab al-Mandab Strait will actually come into play with the Houthis. It's happened now. It's been about 5 or 6 days. The Houthis have threatened to close the strait, particularly for Saudi Arabian oil tankers, and Saudi Arabia rely on this just as much as the Strait of Hormuz. They're incredibly vulnerable.
It is unbelievable to think that this country here, which is the most populous country in the area, right? Or is Saudi Arabia? What's Yemen's population versus Saudi Arabia's? Yemen's population is 34 point. Apparently, it could be about 43 million. So Yemen is the largest, right, of this area. Is it bigger than Saudi? Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, it's certainly the poorest in the area, and yet they're able to cause so many issues for these mega powerful, mega rich states. They've even caused problems for the United States. The United States lost aircraft fighting against the Yemenis. Like, it's kind of crazy to think about. It truly is.
And then on Wednesday, we saw 2 Saudi Arabian tankers attacked by Houthi forces. The Saudi Arabians responded,
oh, I'm opening too much.
Military assets across the Yemeni coast, particularly in Hodeidah, just there, halfway up the coast. And now we're seeing further inland strikes as well, particularly around Marib and Al Jawf as well, really central inland into Yemen itself. And this shows an escalation of the Saudi-led coalition, which are now starting to broaden their military targets away from just those that have been striking so far Saudi ships and Saudi.
The Iranians... The thing is the Iranians aren't really, or haven't really been able to help the Houthis as much as you might think. Saudi has enforced a blockade for such a long time, you know? Saudi enforced a blockade against Yemen for so many years. And the Houthis are clearly not someone who just acts at the whims and wills of the, you know, of whatever is dictated to them by the Iranian government.
Tankers into the heart of Houthi-controlled Yemen itself.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's worth remembering. There's the Yemeni military that still exists, and then the Houthis, which are backed by Iran, the Iranian proxies. Because the truth is that...
It's so funny as well to go, like, there's a military in Yemen, and then there's the bit that's controlled by, you know, there's the evil bit that's controlled by the Houthis. Who controls and backs the other bit? Does Saudi Arabia have anything to do with that, or you know, Western power? Are they backed by anyone? Why is it that we only talk about proxies in specific relation to the Houthis? I mean, obviously, what were they called? Oh my god, the Emirati-backed group are out of there now, right? Mostly.
Here, same with the Strait of Hormuz, it just takes a drone to effectively stop the strait.
Yeah, they're very vulnerable. It's the insurance and the banking behind it which underwrites the tankers. Just the 2 strikes against the Saudi ships on Wednesday is enough for it to almost grind entirely to a halt. So we have this now both waterways are in.
Is it the STC in Yemen, the Southern Transitionary Council, that was backed by the UAE?
Effectively blockaded, multiple blockades, and it's quite the backlog already.
Yeah, so the situation keeps on getting more complicated rather than simpler. Robert Clark, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the major issue is just what do you even do? Like, there is no way to stop this at all. You can bomb them as hard as you want.
Media linked to...
You can bomb them as hard as you want, but you're not putting boots on the ground. You're not doing it because every time the Saudis did it, they just were unable to defeat them. Years of siege, starvation, and blockade, and then even Americans joining in didn't help. I'm enjoying this image of MBS saying, "Listen up, Houthis. I'm actually really fucking sorry."
Yemen's Ansar al-Houthis says that Saudi strikes have targeted 2 locations on the country's Red Sea coast. Earlier, Saudi media reported an attack on a Saudi vessel in the Red Sea. Explosions have been reported in Hodeidah port. Strikes have also been...
And yes, it wouldn't surprise me, stronger Belwas, if they did build them all internally. No doubt that there's technical support. It's much of how, like, Hezbollah, you know, was initially established and such. Hezbollah was initially established by, like, a pretty relatively small group, or, like, Hezbollah was already coming into existence, but they were certainly helped by, like, a small group of Iranians who had just been fighting in the Iran-Iraq war and went over to Lebanon and helped Shias, like Shia militias there, professionalize. And, you know, they were people who went over there and the government helped them and enabled them, but it certainly wasn't like they established them. It was already something that existed. And if you look specifically at what it was that Hezbollah was different, especially initially, it literally just seems to have been they were really quite good at killing Israeli occupation soldiers in Lebanon, and it eventually forced Israel out because it became too expensive to maintain this thing. And they had infiltrated the southern Lebanese army so badly.
Reported on Kamaran Island. It comes a day after the Houthis said that they had targeted 2 Saudi tankers. They said the ships were violating their naval blockade on Saudi ports. We'll bring you more on this breaking news a little later in this bulletin. Iranian media say that 2 people have died in a US missile strike on a liquefied petroleum gas tanker in the Gulf of Oman. The Fars news agency says the attack damaged the vessel's engine room. The US military hasn't committed. Al Jazeera's Mahmoud Abdul-Wahid reports from Tehran.
Iranian state media are reporting that the US military has targeted a liquefied petroleum gas vessel in the Sea of Oman, allegedly killing 2 crew members and damaging the engine of the vessel, bringing it to a halt in the Sea of Oman. Now, this comes after Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi had a phone call on Friday with his Omani counterpart, Badr al-Busaidi, discussing maritime security and the safe passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. On Friday, also, an Omani diplomatic delegation visited Tehran for talks focusing on mechanisms to arrange.
Is that just a call to prayer in the background that's giving it sort of like this quality, or what is this?
Safe passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iranian officials have been arguing that the safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz...
I'm sorry, this is a very unusual news segment. You would think that they would have drowned out the background noise. It's quite distracting trying to listen to this guy.
Is a sovereign right to both Oman and Iran, rejecting any foreign interference, namely from the United States. We understand that the United States earlier this month has imposed a naval blockade on Iranian southern ports, which Iran considers.
It's there's something about this that is giving it quite a haunting quality. I can't really describe it. The whole thing has just got quite a haunting quality, his news delivery.
There's an economic warfare and a violation of the UN Charter and international law. Iranian officials, and namely the foreign ministry, has been reiterating that Iran cannot give in to coercive diplomacy, accusing the United States of practicing what it considers bullying in the region.
Let's get back to the breaking news we told you about a few moments ago in Yemen. Yusuf Mari is in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. He joins us now live. Yemen's Houthi-affiliated media say that Saudi strikes have targeted 2 locations on the country's Red Sea coast. Yusuf, what more do we know?
Well, the Saudi TV just announced that the Saudi military is announcing that they targeted military sites. According to the Ansarullah Houthis, however, they're saying that the Saudi Arabia targeted the island of Kamaran and targeted also facilities belonging to telecommunication centers.
Do you know Alden Markey, who's like a journalist in Yemen, has some quite funny posts. Listen to this one of what he says. He says apparently the Yemenis have such funny names for their enemies. Mohammed bin Salman is collectively referred to only as Dub al-Dashar, which translates to brutish bear or unruly brute.
All of which happened in the strategic province of Hodeidah. Now, we know that the island of Kamaran is known for its strategic importance. It is Yemen's largest island, and it's actually very close to Bab al-Mandab, where the ships, the Saudi oil tankers, are being targeted. So whenever you have such a situation, as it has happened before, where Saudi Arabia targeted the province of Hodeidah, targeted the port of Hodeidah, although Saudi Arabia is saying that they did not target the port of Hodeidah and that the port of Hodeidah remains open and fully operational. This was expected. The response from Saudi Arabia was expected by the Ansarullah Houthi group. They did warn that if Saudi Arabia does...
I think that the whole problem is that the thing about oil is right now, it doesn't look like there's any kind of fix for this. I also really don't think that the Yemenis are going to end it on the basis of a negotiation with Iran. Their problem relates much more to Saudi Arabia. So what's going to happen? This isn't actually really that connected to what's happening between Iran and the United States right now. I think it's actually much more just Saudi and Yemen having unresolved issues that they have been unable to resolve after quite a considerable amount of negotiation. And always the thing is for Saudi Arabia, you know, you have this massive populous country filled with incredibly poor people right next to your border. So what are you going to do about that? And I don't think they really have a great solution.
Attack Yemen, does attack the province of Hodeidah or any province under their control, then there are going to be more strikes targeting not just oil tankers, not just imposing the naval blockade on all Saudi shipping, but also targeting Aramco oil facilities, targeting Saudi airports, Saudi air bases, and Saudi Aramco oil pipelines in Saudi Arabia. So this is the latest that we have right now. There's one report of...
Two of you actually just said the same thing. You are actually 100% right that I guess the whole thing is if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, it escalates the Houthis' leverage, or the Ansarullah Houthis' leverage, to such a higher level than... to so much of a higher level than, you know, if Hormuz wasn't closed. And how cooked are we? I mean, it's not very promising, I'm not going to lie. I don't think there's promising things happening in the oil market. And I think things are about to get so much more expensive in Europe especially, because, well, what the issue is in Europe is that the we don't have enough liquefied petroleum gas and we're heading towards winter. We don't have the stocks that we actually need.
One woman who was injured in the attack that occurred on the island of Cameron. Usually whenever these attacks happen, the number of casualties, if there are any, they will be released perhaps later on in a couple of hours or early tomorrow morning.
You say, Yusuf, that this was to be expected. This is only going to ramp up tension, isn't it? If the Ansar al-Houthis are going to strike even more vessels as they've threatened.
Well, there's a number of options, and I think that...
By the way, I'm just looking at images of Cameron Island. It looks absolutely insane. I'm just Googling. I'm trying to find the... Cameron's flat. This is apparently what Cameron looks like. Looks incredible. Yemen is such a beautiful country. It's actually incredible. They have those, what are those trees called? The dragon something trees?
It's almost the same strategy that was applied and executed when the Ansar Allah Houthis announced the blockade on all Israeli shipping. It started off gradually by just not allowing Israeli-linked ships to cross Bab el-Manda, but then it escalated to targeting Israeli shipping, whether it was in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden. They even targeted Israeli-linked...
I think the impact is already... I don't know if I'm really sure that the impact isn't already felt. If you go to any gas station, go look at the price of oil. It's certainly, the price of petrol and diesel. It's certainly not very pleasant, I will say that much. And you've got to think that that will be hitting farmers and stuff way harder, food producers, and I guess it'll basically, or it could lead to the death of independent farms. And it's really funny as well, because all of those conservatives who bootlick farmers, and the farmers normally end up bootlicking, are basically just people who always advocate for doing whatever Israel tells us and following Israel into whatever dumb adventurism it wants to do in the Middle East that week. And then, you know, farmers still vote for them. It's kind of crazy, but it does prove you people don't vote for their interests, because if they did, they'd vote for anti-war leftists who help you think like, okay, we need to find some kind of alternative and want to keep and don't want to enter into adventurism with Israel that's going to fuck over your little farm.
Vessels in the Indian Ocean. And this is exactly what we might see with the escalation of military activities against Saudi assets, whether it's at sea, whether it's at land, whether they are targeting Saudi Arabia's most precious jewel, the Aramco oil facilities. The main target here, make no mistake about it, is Saudi Arabia's moneymaker, the oil exporting industry. That's 5 million barrels.
Yeah, the only part of Yemen you can visit is Socotra Island, and the only way you can go there is with the UAE. But now the UAE is pulled out, I don't even know if you can go anymore.
Barrels from Saudi Arabia that's being exported on a daily basis, and the Ansar Allah Houthis have taken that asset away from Saudi Arabia. You knew that there was going to be some type of response from Saudi Arabia. A lot of experts we're talking about perhaps engaging with the Ansar Allah Houthis in negotiations in Oman. As we know, there is a delegation of Saudi and Ansar Allah officials in Oman. They were supposed to talk, negotiate in order to de-escalate the tensions. Unfortunately, from what we are seeing today, those negotiations are not bearing any fruit, and most likely this is going to result into a sort of back and forth where you have Ansar Allah Houthi.
By the way, I remember, I don't think I'll ever forget this conversation. I remember talking to some people about, you know, the Middle East in maybe 2024 or 2023. Anyway, I was talking to it, and they were talking about how the US has all these fucking aircraft carriers and that no one has any chance of doing anything against them. After watching what Yemen was capable of doing versus the United States with every single disadvantage that you could imagine, it kind of shows you that military dominance just isn't as much of a thing anymore. In the sense of, like, if you have some kind of choke point, if you have some kind of thing, some kind of thing that can hurt the US, you're fine. All you need is drones and a couple of missiles to do it. They can target Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia can't protect their oil fields. All it takes is one drone getting through, which, by the way, the Houthis have managed to get drones to Israel. How much easier do you think it is to get a drone over to fucking Saudi Arabia than it is to Israel?
He's targeting Saudi Arabia at sea, but now also targeting them, where it's going to hurt. And this is according to the statements issued by the Ansar Allah Houthis. This is according to the leader of the Ansar Allah Houthi, Abdul Malik al Houthi. And this is also according to many Ansar Allah Houthi officials who basically sent the message that they want the war.
This guy's having some trouble with his ear.
Or to escalate. They want to target more Saudi assets. And it looks like it's not just going to include imposing the blockade. This is going to perhaps lead into a full-scale war between Saudi Arabia and the Yemeni group, just as it happened in 2000.
Well, missiles, in my understanding, missiles that were easily accessible, that could easily sink a full, a full carrier, became available to the Iranians back in the 1980s. They were these things, Chinese silkworms. You could previously hit a tanker and cause some issues for it, but these things apparently during the Iran-Iraq war were what the Iranians got their hands on, and all of a sudden they could just sink things pretty much instantaneously. Yeah, this is apparently how they gained fame in the 80s. They launched a number of silkworms from the Four Peninsula, they striking American-owned Liberian-flagged tanker Sungari and the US-flagged Sea Isle City. 5 other missiles struck areas in Kuwait. I think that these were like the first things that easily just cause major issues. And so you got to think that how much that will have advanced by now. If they want to do it, they will easily do it. A trebuchet with flaming content is more of an IOF thing. Yeah, that is true. How fast are those? I've got no idea. Chinese silkworms are quite old now. I have no idea how fast they are, but they're quite old. But I don't think you can really advance tankers that much, no? What can you do to shore up this kind of stuff? And these things were made in the 60s.
From 2015 to 2022. Okay. It looks like history is going to repeat itself. Unless negotiations
I don't know whether you can hear me.
But
Yusuf Murray reporting live there from Yemen's capital, Sanaa. Many thanks, Yusuf.
But yeah, the images of the strikes are pretty crazy. I don't know if any of you have been following this video of hits. So here are all of the sort of reports and videos of what was happening last night or earlier today. So you had hits in the Saudi port city of Jazan. That is just so insane. Apparently Yanbu was also attacked, which is where I think it's like, is it 2.5 million barrels of oil have been sent out? If a boat sinks or not is largely determined where it is actually struck. With a missile, if you hit the top deck, you're not likely going to sink it. Striking the hull near or just below the waterline will result in sinking more often. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Should be easy. Wondering about their aircraft carriers. I mean, aircraft carriers are just an incredibly big target. It's why building them in an era where you can do drone swarms is a really questionable thing. You need thousands of people to man and staff an aircraft carrier. So why would you want to build more of them in an era where people can just drone swarm them and potentially fuck them over, you know? But yeah, apparently they kept attacking Yanbu. It doesn't look like if it's been hit that much. There's not really that much information about it. If the iceberg had landed on top of the Titanic, it would have had a better chance. That is a good point. You are correct about that. But yeah, more videos of hits. So these are videos of smoke rising from the Jazan refinery. Even more, okay. So NASA has updated its It's satellite imagery. Saudi Aramco's Jazan refinery is on fire. So this is parts of it. This is over here. So wait, if you're looking at the refinery and what's been hit, what are these? Are these storage facilities? It's certainly not good for Saudi Arabia, whatever they fucking are. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you recycled. It's certainly going to have had a big impact on this shit. God, I imagine the air quality is fucking horrible. I imagine it's just fucking awful. But it'll, by the way, have probably been a conscious... It will have been a conscious decision by the Ansar Allah Houthis as to what they actually hit, you know. I assume that their choice was not to hit production capacity as a threat to... basically, it was not to hit production capacity as kind of like a threat, you know, to hit storage or something. Apparently, Yemen might hit Riyadh. Where did you hear that? Where did you hit that? Were they just saying it? I mean, to be fair, were they just saying it? If there's anyone in the axis of resistance who doesn't seem to just say things and just go straight to, as someone described it, go straight for the jugular, then it would be the Houthis. They seem to just do whatever they say they're gonna do, like instantaneously. Apparently these are in Haifa. And also, one of the other problems is we're never going to really know what's actually being hit. I will tell you that much. The reason we won't really know much about what's being hit is because there's an intentional policy in all of these Gulf states of preventing information coming out. So we'll have absolutely no idea about how the US military is not counted at all in emissions. Yeah, there's like some trickery around the UK with this kind of stuff. Oh my god, also, by the way, the Iranians have been striking Amazon data centers, apparently, or web services data centers. So this is from AMK mapping. New high-resolution satellite imagery reveals that the Amazon Web Services data center in Bahrain was damaged by an Iranian missile/drone attack. So that's the image of it damaged. Kind of crazy. Aramco fires after Houthis. What is Barry with the Ned tweeting stuff? That is such a good name, Bonza Barry. Barry with the Ned. Yeah, he did actually. He noted that, by the way, this was actually confirmed that an Aramco facility was on fire by mainstream media. Reuters finally acknowledged that the Aramco facility is on fire. Guys, I'm quickly just going to run and pee. I'll be back in 1 second. Behave yourselves. We'll carry on with this. There's some other stuff I wanted to watch. So we'll carry on with this. Don't you worry. La Boubou. Sorry, guys. I needed to get my fan, too. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, it is a bit of a chair stream. Chair stream today. Lol, lol. He's using his chair. Oh, dear. Whew. Okay, right, there we go. Now my feet will be cold. Okay. Right. Trump talks about... Here we go. Yeah, I wanted to see this video of Morandi talking about negotiations. So I know it is breaking points, but this is much more Morandi talking. So let's have a listen to what he has to say.
So for The View from Iran, we are now joined by Professor Syed Mohammad Morandi of the University of Tehran. Great to see you again, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
No, I'm not. There's nothing to do with lettuce. The reason you had such a long one is because I had to go get my fan as well, which was downstairs. Oh, Satirical, thank you for cheering 200 bits. Thank you for supporting over on Twitch. As always, if anyone wants to become a subscriber on Twitch, feel free. I still haven't set up. There is a link if anyone wants to just... my PayPal is linked over there. But I haven't, I still haven't set up like a thing so it appears. But if anyone wants to throw me a prime, become a member, feel free. But there's nothing going on with lettuce. Shut up about lettuce. You're twisted.
Thank you both for inviting me. It's always a great pleasure.
Of course. So we have a fresh Trump Truth Social for you to react to here. We don't even have the element made yet, so I'll read it.
They've got Morandi some kind of epic camera. The Islamic Republic have realized that the most important thing in the world is giving Morandi the best camera ever. It feels like you can see every individual hair on this man's beard.
To you, it says, a year ago, the United States of America attacked very powerfully the Houthis for their interference with commerce and trade by shooting at ships. Since that time, and during our...
So far the attacks on Yemen have been carried out by Saudi Arabia, but I don't see what actually has changed by bombing through America rather than Saudi. You can attack harder, but that's it. That's all you can do. And no, Breaking Points isn't libbed up. It was just to do with the Platinum stuff they were on a couple of weeks ago, like a week ago or so. I've just closed my document. But let's have a listen to what he has to say.
Conflict with Iran, they have acted very responsibly. Unfortunately, now they are starting up again, shooting at 2 Saudi Arabian ships last night. Please let this truth serve to represent that if they do this again, the U.S. will hold Iran responsible in that the Houthis are a surrogate and or proxy of Iran. Major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran. And of course, the Houthis themselves, who I am very disappointed with in that they have until now acted very professionally and smart. Your reaction to that, sir?
Well, we are already on Trump's list, even as he's waging war against the country. He said that any ship that's hit or even fired upon in the Strait of Hormuz, in response, the United States will take out a power plant or a bridge. Well, last night, 3 ships tried to pass through the Strait of Hormuz without the permission of the Iranian Navy, and one of them was struck and the other 2 retreated. So far, Trump has not carried out his threat. Of course, the Iranians have said that if he does so, then those countries in the Persian Gulf that are complicit in this war, their critical infrastructure will be destroyed. And we know what that would mean in the month of July in the Arabian Peninsula. That would effectively mean that these countries would have to be evacuated. Now, I'm sorry.
By the way, this is over and over again why no one has actually done this war. This is all the Biden administration had, or the only difference with the Biden administration previously. They knew launching a full-scale operation against Iran would not work. But for some reason, the Trump administration just listened to Netanyahu telling them how they were going to be able to free Iran or some bullshit.
Allah has its own grievances. The Yemen, or the Houthis, as they say in the West, the Saudis have led a siege on their country for years. and they see this as the best moment to have leverage because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. So they said we're going to shut the Red Sea to Saudi Arabia until they lift the siege. And the United States waged war against Yemen. They didn't. The United States did not succeed. So far, the United States in its war against Iran has not succeeded. If Trump wants to fight two wars simultaneously against these two entities that he could not defeat, I don't think the result will be victory.
Professor, I'm curious for your reaction here about the ongoing diplomatic posture in Tehran. We can put A4 up here on the screen. Your foreign minister put this statement out yesterday. Our defense doctrine is clear, an eye for an eye. Any aggression against Iran, including our infrastructure, will compel a powerful and decisive response. Those who contribute to such aggression, whatever kind of support, will also be considered as legitimate.
Oh, actually, wait, I heard one of the most well, I don't know if I describe it as unhinged. I heard this conspiracy theory, or I wouldn't even know if I'd describe it as a conspiracy theory, okay? I heard this theory that basically the US and Israel aren't able to fly fighter jets into Iran as easily as they've made out, and so they're actually using drones to do it, like particularly MQ-9 Reapers armed with, armed specifically with missiles. And they use these things to carry out strikes, even though it's incredibly risky. And that's why these drones that they don't have that many of, that are incredibly costly, keep on being shot down. It's a real problem for them, apparently, yet they just, for some reason, keep on fucking sending these drones in. Oh. Biggest, I don't know why that's not showing up, why that's not triggering. Bit of an odd one. Something not triggering it. Biggest Dickus, thank you for the gifted membership, my man. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It should have showed up, but it's not for some reason. I have no idea why it's not showing up, but thank you so much for supporting the channel, my man. Goated.
Targets. So if I pair this...
Hey!
Welcome to the Burger Reich.
Cedar Down Under, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Incredibly kind. Everyone who got a gifted, enjoy your membership. Spam out some emotes. Spam out some emotes in the chat. Thank you so much, Cedar Down Under, and thank you so much, Biggest Dickers. Thank you for supporting the channel. Yeah, W Gifties indeed. W Cedar, thank you all for supporting the channel. Oh, speaking of gifted, of memberships, the other thing we might do with the YouTube channel, because the podcast, some of you were asking for this, we may add membership so you can watch the videos on there, like they'll be members only. As costly as drones are, pilots are much more costly. If the US kept feeding Iran real planes, that is actually true. I feel like that is 100% true. You are completely correct about that, actually. Oh, that is a weird little circle that you just got a membership. I didn't notice that. That is so unusual. It's not as funny as when the guy accidentally gifted himself a membership. But yeah, I think you're actually right about pilots. I think that you're 100% true. Pilots cost so much money, like, throughout their lifetime to train. So yeah, you're probably right about that. Still, feeding drones to them is kind of dumb. But yeah, I don't know. And apparently there's not actually much footage of planes flying over Iran.
With some of the comments I've seen you make recently publicly going after many of these Gulf regimes, which are hosts, of course, to our bases. What can we expect if Trump does follow through with this threat of bombing civilian infrastructure, specifically bridges and energy targets around the capital city? Where will likely Iranian retaliation come?
Well, if we go back to the 40-day war, the Ramadan War. Back then, the Israeli regime and the United States, they began targeting Iranian critical infrastructure. And one strike...
It's a one-way trip for MQ-9s. They don't have any sort of air superiority. I don't think they can even fly B-2s or B-1s over Iran since mid-March. I think the attacks stopped because they literally can't hit deep into Iran without standoff munitions, and they are lower on standoff munitions than interceptors. They haven't flown sorties since March. I say this as a certified missile autist. I mean, you know what? You could, right. We'll defer. Mandela effect is the #1 source on this. Let's everyone trust this. Let's everyone trust Mr. Mandela effect. You might be totally correct about that. When they even did Midnight Hammer, right? Midnight Hammer, the prerequisite of it was them doing a misdirection campaign, right? They flew out B-2 bombers, but they sent them in the opposite direction and then did a misdirect and then did Midnight Hammer. But even then, I suppose it's risky. I mean, one of the features later on was the loss of planes as well. And they've even lost helicopters, right? They lost some helicopters over the Strait of Hormuz not that long ago. And apparently they may have been involved in oil smuggling missions.
Was on the South Pars gas field, the biggest gas field in Iran, which is a joint field with Qatar. And the Iranian response, because the Iranians had warned back then that they do the same thing, that they would strike back at the critical infrastructure of those countries that are hosting the U.S., that are enabling the U.S. to attack Iran and the U.S. and the Israeli regime. So they struck back very hard, including striking at the Qatari gas facilities. And then Trump, right afterwards, put up a Truth Social statement saying that this is not going to happen again and Netanyahu is not going to do this anymore. So that was Iran's deterrence. And a few days ago, when the Americans, as you recall, they started bombing Iranian bridges and tunnels.
How quick do you think that the US would have lost the Vietnam War if the Vietnamese had had drones? If they'd had access, I mean, the only problem is then you'd be like, well, the US would have had access to them too. But it would have just given them a better reconnaissance abilities. But I guess if they had them too, it would have just been over so much quicker because the costs of American lives would have been way too high. But then I suppose you'd say, well, they wouldn't have needed so many soldiers on the ground.
All civilian, and killing people who were on the bridge, including families, women, and children. Well, I'm not sure about children, but I do know about women. The Iranians threatened the United States and said that if you continue, we're going to strike back at the infrastructure. And the U.S. also hit a desalination plant and a hospital in the city of Ahvaz, a children's hospital. So Iran...
By the way, the decision to hit a desalination facility inside of Iran is so moronic. Iran does not rely as heavily as the Gulf states do on desalination facilities. The Gulf states absolutely cannot live without them. Go look up what percentage of their drinking water comes from desalination. It's absolutely insane. Why they did that is genuinely beyond me. But I think you made a great point, woke neat skit. Why are we trying to derive a meaning or strategy from American military actions? Would you try and derive meaning from the cow saying moo? If you asked it a question, no, you would not, because it is a cow. The same principle must be applied to the American cattle. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That is an incredible tweet. An incredible Truth Social. Didn't Vietnam shoot down the first B-52? I don't know. The Vietnamese, by the way, somehow managed to shot down in... Yeah, they seem to have managed to have done it. They shot down 15 B-2s apparently were shot down. Wow. They shot down 15 B-2 bombers. So I guess if they were doing it back then, that could happen again so easily. Most sorties are not over Iran. In fact, most times they launch missiles from planes. The pilot can't even see what he's targeting. Interesting. It's hard for Iran to catch jets because their radars have been pretty dismantled, but if they do catch them, they have the capability to shoot them down, which is why standoffs are being blown. Yeah, I mean, they did kind of show the ability that they could do it. Yeah, it says on Wikipedia that they shot down 15 B-2s. I swear to you, it says that. US claim 12 tactical aircraft shot down, 15 B-2 shot down. So the US claim... So this is what the US said, that they had 15 B-2 bombers shot down. B-52s suffered heavy damage. 5 B-52s suffered medium damage, 12 US tactical aircraft shot down. So that does seem to be the case, right? Did I say B2? B52. You're right. I'm wrong. My apologies. That's the part that confused you. B2. I see. B52. Is a B52 just an older and shitter version? Yeah, that thing does look shit. Good on the Vietnamese for shooting one of those down. Shooting down the evil death bird raining hellfire from the sky is a positive and moral action.
I'm sure you recall, struck Kuwait's the electrical grid and a desalination plant to basically say that, look, take this threat seriously. And since then, the United States has sort of backed off, even though last night they did strike the border between Iran and Iraq, killing 2 pilgrims, which I don't know why they did that. But in general, the United States has backed off. So the Iranian threat is real, and the Iranians will go and destroy the infrastructure of these countries because they don't have access to U.S. infrastructure in the United States, so they're going to do it here. Now, if that happens, you both know exactly what that will mean. That will mean that the energy markets will be wrecked permanently, or at least for years to come. Because if Iran destroys the critical infrastructure in these countries, which are all deserts, and we're in the month of July, these countries will have to be evacuated, and that includes Saudi Arabia. The countries will fall apart. And that means that there will be no more energy for months, if not years to come. And that will lead to a global economic depression worse than the 1930s. This is not something that Iran wants. Iran didn't start the war. Iran didn't escalate. Iran didn't threaten to target critical infrastructure. But this is Iran's deterrence. They will do this, but they're saying they will do this so that Trump does not move in that direction.
Okay.
Professor, President Trump has claimed that Iran is begging to talk. I don't think there's any reason to take those claims seriously, but I am curious what the attitude within Iran, as far as you can glean, towards negotiating.
I mean, no doubt that the US government and the US military have managed to, like, degrade Iranian capabilities. If you're hammering someone with never-ending strikes over and over again, it will cause problems. I heard that there were some issues with Iranian communications coming from, like, southern Iran to the center of Iran. But yeah, the whole thing of, like, them having defeated Iran just obviously isn't true, because what Iran can do is just, what Iran are able to do is just fire fucking missiles and carry out the same thing, which is close the Strait of Hormuz. USA hiding their dead. I think the US has just had to abandon military bases. I think that's what it's meant to be. B-52 is supposed to have an insanely massive payload. The B-2 was made for stealth. Interesting.
Diplomacy is at this point.
Well, we all know that he was saying this throughout this war. He's been saying it so many times. I don't know how many times exactly, but tens of times. And, in Iran, there's actually a different type of debate. There is a divide in Iran between those who think that the MOU was the right thing to do and those who said that we should not have signed the MOU and we should have just continued until things got worse for the United States. Both sides have an argument to make. I mean, those who were in favor of the MOU, they said, well, we took advantage of the first few days. We exported tens of millions of barrels of oil and imported critical supplies to prepare ourselves for the next phase because we knew that the United States would not abide by the MOU. And those who oppose it...
God, it is. You are right. The US did change the amount of casualties from 8 to 13, and their justification is because they died and they weren't at war. It's probably, by the way, it's probably something really cynical to do with, like, what their families would receive or some nonsense like that as well. But it's also, yes, to reduce the death toll because they're like, oh, they died in, I don't know, whatever.
We're saying, no, we should have continued. They were in bad shape and we should have just put more pressure on. The debate is not, let's negotiate now. No one is saying that. So the debate today is, and both sides have arguments to make, and I'm not in any particular camp myself. I think both have good arguments to make. But the point is that the talk is whether we should have been hitting harder and being more assertive rather than pursuing the policy that we did.
I will always repeat this. Morandi is like 100% like a propagandist for the Islamic Republic. Like, he is. That's not an exaggeration. That's clearly what he is. That's why he's everywhere. But the other thing about this is that this is different in the perspective in terms of what you hear from, like, Fox News telling you that the US has killed every evil person in the world because they're the most moral army to have ever existed. But the whole thing is that, like, this guy is talking more about an actual reality that is going on.
In the past, no one now is talking about negotiations.
Well, the curious thing, sir, I saw that you had said during the Memorandum of Understanding period, if you could say that there was some sort of understanding, is you were mimicking some of the rhetoric of our vice president, say that you were taking the opportunity to reload. So was this always the course of action that was in the minds of many of these Iranian leaders? And now that we are back in a phase where, you know, some hot war has resumed, what would it take to resume the Memorandum of Understanding?
The Iranian leaders did not believe that the United States would abide by the MOU. If they had, the Iranians would have fulfilled their side of the bargain, no doubt. The Iranian intention was there. And that's how it's been in the past. With the JCPOA, that's how it was.
Why don't we say the same about the Trump administration? Well, I mean, it's pretty evident what Fox News is, right? Fox News is just straight up propaganda, like Trump administration propaganda. I feel like a lot of people have mentioned that, you know, the fact that Trump's daughter is literally now working for Fox News. What do you think that is? There is no indication Iran's abilities have been degraded at all. In fact, their air defense has improved so much that they are now taking potshots at aircraft in the middle of the strait, not just ones over Tehran. They also have improved the terminal guidance on their missiles, leading to great improvements. That does seem to be true, the thing about this. But I think that the thing is like, Iran is being continuously hammered. Iran is probably not going to make public what has happened to, like, what has degraded about their military in the same way that the US is really not making public, and we have to wait months to actually find out what is happening from their US bases. But we aren't seeing the same kind of things coming out of Iran. But if you're hammering something over and over again, you are bound to cause problems for it. Like, Iran does have problems. John Elmer of the Electronic Intifada has explained some of the Iranian air defense quite well. They have a type of air defense missile that loiters in some air and kind of glides around waiting for a target to get detected, and it works surprisingly well because the payload is already airborne. Part of the high MQ-9 drone count is this. Yeah, I mean, one of the craziest things about MQ-9s that I read today is no MQ-9 got shot down, I think, until, or none were confirmed shot down until 2017, and it was in Yemen that it happened. So you got to imagine that the Iranians are doing much more successful. CIA said at least 70% of Iran's capability remains. Yeah, 100%, and there were even reports that they were reconstituting stuff.
And it would have been the same today. But the Iranians knew that, at least those who I know in the different political camps, they all believed that the United States would not abide by its commitments. And it became pretty clear after 3-4 days. They did not hand over the stolen assets. They did not force the Israeli regime to leave Lebanon. Trump continued to threaten Iranian officials and the Iranian people, which is a violation of the deal. They expanded the sanctions regime, another violation. They removed the sanctions on oil exports, then reversed that after a few days, another violation. And of course, they, in violation of Article 5, they went and set up their own parallel corridor in the Strait of Hormuz, because in Article 5, Iran was supposed to manage the strait. So what the Americans were trying to do is to try to take control over the strait, take away Iran's leverage, and then not carry out its obligations.
I think that what they're hitting is the American strategy was to stop these missile cities from working by effectively just smashing the entrances, but it hasn't worked at all, and they're not really able to do it. This has all been reported in Western media as well, like this exact stuff, that they've not been successful at this at all. By the way, it looks like there is just the most insane shit happening right now in the West Bank.
And win a war that they could not win on the battlefield or through siege warfare. So, and then they bombed Iran when Iran ultimately, after a couple of weeks of warning the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Americans not to do this, The Iranians finally struck 3 ships, I think, and then the Americans waged war against Iran again, another violation, and reimposed the siege. So the Iranians knew that was happening, but the difference between Iran and the United States was that the Iranians were willing to implement the deal, but not the Americans. But the Iranians, they took that opportunity to export a lot of oil and to import critical supplies to prepare them for the next phase. But I think that ultimately, if the United States, the Iranians are not in.
What's up in the West Bank? Yesterday, a Palestinian managed to get a gun out of the hands of an Israeli soldier who was assaulting him. And he killed 2 Israeli soldiers, or 2 Israeli soldiers were killed. He definitely killed one. I can't recall if he killed both of them. Anyway, the Israelis obviously did not like this, and so they murdered 4 Palestinians, and now they're on an absolute rage campaign, like just rampaging through the West Bank. I'll actually talk about it shortly.
The mood for negotiations. But if the United States wants to solve the problem, I think that the MOU will not be enough for Iran. They will demand that the United States first carries out certain things before the.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, this whole thing of, I don't even know what legally speaking it is to do with, like, Palestinians in the West Bank and what you can say and can't say. But I'm gonna be real here. My government designates them illegal settlers occupying another people's land. You think I'm gonna give a fuck specifically about a fucking soldier? Like, you're hard-pressed to get me to care about Israeli civilians who spend their time. They're not civilians. They're outposts of the settler colonial project. I mean, Ethan Klein has fucking said this, that settlers are valid military targets, okay? But, like, I mean, Israel is just on this fucking spiral of just, you know, like Nazism that's just never fucking ending, that probably just culminates, or has already culminated, in this final solution plan for Gaza, which is just ethnically cleanse all of the fucking Palestinians. That's their new and clever idea. And so, yeah, we'll finish this and then we'll talk about it. No, it was 2 Israeli soldiers who got killed. It was 2 Israeli soldiers who got killed. It wasn't, they were soldiers. They were both soldiers.
Iranians do anything. And they will also be.
The guy is a settler, but he's also a soldier. He's a member of the Hilltop Youth.
Explicit in including Yemen and Gaza in the negotiations. That's my guess.
Gaza too. Very interesting. Retired General Keith Kellogg, who has held a variety of roles both in the first and the second Trump administrations, took to Fox News to push for a significant escalation. This is A7, guys. Let's go ahead and play this.
Here is a concern I do have for Iran.
The other reason that it's not even just this like abstract concept of colonizers, because I do agree with you in the sense of like settler colonialists are not civilians. They are there to eliminate the indigenous people. But what specifically means that these people are not civilians? Eyal Weitzman has previously talked about this, okay? In his book, I think it's called Hollowed Land. It's because of the fact that they build them on hills. They're effectively just lookout posts to monitor Palestinians and enforce the occupation. But I do think that we should all consider that they are former fetuses, and at one point they were also zygotes. Is everyone a zygote? I don't remember. I actually was quite good at biology. I was going to say I flunked it.
No.
Also, someone asked earlier, is Professor Zhang done? Wasn't Professor Zhang talking about how... Wasn't Professor Zhang out here talking about how Messi will be the Prime Minister of Argentina?
You have played sports. I've played sports. We've watched sports. And you let a team hang around, a baseball team in the 9th inning or a football team in the 4th quarter, where you were clearly the better team. You should have closed them out.
I will say, just comparing Mamdani to this guy, first of all, why is this guy so red? Insane. Look at him compared to this other guy. He looks like a fucking tomato. But this other thing about this character, the other thing about this fucking character is this guy is just a propagandist too, but he's one that has no real reality to what he's saying. It's just totally grounded in insanity. What Morandi is saying is at least grounded in the fact of, like, yeah, Iran is currently in a position that is dominant over the US, in the sense of the US doesn't really have an answer of how to achieve its aims with the current status quo. There was some discussion of this massive attack that might involve Israel, but what's there really to say? Like, what is this? What's this massive attack going to culminate in?
The first quarter, not the fourth, or the first inning, not the ninth inning. And the longer they stick around, the more dangerous they become. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And I think the president's going to close it out. He should close it out. There's a few things he should do, I think. One is on negotiations. Let's not negotiate. I'm not negotiating with these guys. We're going to dictate the terms of the war, and it is a war.
It's also, sorry, just I'm going to close the discussion on settlers in the West Bank for like now, but I want to respond to this. And the only reason I'll close it for now is because we'll actually just do a little segment on it, because it makes sense. The talking point is, I don't like settlers, but I do have a problem with banning Jews living somewhere just because they are Jewish. Kind of incredible talking point. Not going to lie, the id poll is extremely powerful in this one. It's also fucking hilarious that, like, if you actually disagree with people being banned from living in places on the basis of their ethnicity, that's something that the Israelis do. There's like, there's this famous quote of some Hamas guy, which I was talking about. It's mentioned in one of the newsletters, like the article that it's in. But this Hamas guy was like, I actually think that you Israeli settlers should come and live in Gaza. Can I come and live where you are? And the Israeli soldier he was talking to was like, don't be fucking stupid. You don't want peace with us. And it's like, well, you think that you have an inalienable right to live in my land, but I don't have a right to live in yours. And for people like Natasha Hausdorff, who's like a propagandist of, you know, the state of Israel, who's like, hey, well, actually, the Israelis have a legal right to be ethnically superior over the Palestinians. One would ask the question of, okay, if the Israelis have this legal right, why don't they annex the West Bank? And the answer is actually proffered by, all we need to do is trace the steps of Israeli propaganda, and we need to go up to the zenith, the peak of Israeli propaganda, Mr. Ethan Red Scare Klein. And Ethan Klein tells us, because Israel is a Jewish state, and that means different things to different people. It could mean a halakha state, but it could also mean a state that has to have a Jewish majority, and that's actually what it's generally understood as. The people who want a halakha state are a small minority in Israel, but one day they might actually become ascendant. It wouldn't surprise me if some Ben Gvir-like figure becomes the leader of Israel at some point, like genuinely just like, I am Adolf Hitler, I am Israeli Hitler, man. That wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But yeah, like, I think the thing is like, you know why it's not happening. Israel needs an apartheid structure to make Palestinian life unlivable because it needs Palestinians to go. It's the same shit going on in Gaza. It's why the genocide looks the way it does. Chris, you've really perfected your old biddy voice. That's just Natasha Hausdorff. That was literally her speaking through my body. She possessed me.
That's going on right now. We're going to keep taking out their leadership. The whole policy about decapitation, we need to continue that. If that means taking out Vahidi or Arachi or anybody else like that, that's fine, because it destabilizes the regime. The other part, because it gives you leverage, is I would take the islands of Karg Island and Larak Island, which is like, it's further to the east, but it's like the command and control center of the Gulf. And you take them to give the president leverage. Now I own something. You don't have.
The funny thing I just want to note as well, this guy pretends that he loves and like understands Israel better than the youth. I bet this guy couldn't even tell you who Noam Hamburger was. This guy probably has no respect for Noam Hamburger and who he was, what Noam Hamburger represented to all of us, and yet he has the audacity to, first of all, engage in cultural appropriation, because, in case you didn't know, Israel invented the cherry tomato, and this guy is dressing up as a cherry tomato, and he hasn't even mentioned Noam Hamburger one time.
Have anymore. We'll give it back to you at the end of this war if you need it, or we're just going to keep it forever. The other thing I think we should be doing is, look, let's go, and if it takes a presidential finding or something like that, let's start figuring out how we can help the Iranian people organize the resistance against the theocratic regime.
So, Professor Trump, in addition to that on Fox News, very influential, and this particular individual also very influential, Trump has directly said he plans to attack Pickaxe Mountain. I'm wondering, from your perspective within Iran, what people are sort of expecting Trump's next move to be.
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that I'm really surprised that he was a general. I fought in war, but I was just an ordinary volunteer and foot soldier.
By the way, really, really, really funny, or, well, not funny, it's actually kind of, it's such a bleak thing that should be treated with the significance it is. The Iran-Iraq war, if you fought in that, that is genuinely like, that's like fighting in World War I or World War II, in the sense of, first of all, initially it was very justified in the sense of, okay, they were invaded by, you know, Saddam invaded Iran to steal part of their country. Later on, you know, I think it was a bit disastrous to push further, and it was justified on the notion that they'd get rid of Saddam, which, you know, moral position, definitely, and overthrow him. However, if you look at what was going on in the Iran-Iraq war, it was literally just battle after battle over tiny amounts of territory in, like, marsh conditions where tens of thousands of people were dying. This guy fought in that. This general was probably some guy walking around a base in Germany, going to fucking McDonald's on his base. It's like fucking Lindsey Graham. You know, I never even knew. You know, Lindsey Graham's like kind of a veteran, but Lindsey Graham is literally just a lawyer. That's it. Lindsey Graham is a lawyer. And Lindsey Graham's like, I'm a veteran who loves killing. I'm a veteran whose politics is awesome.
What strategic value would Hark Island have? How is it a command and control center? It's a flat piece of land which has, I mean, right now Iran is not exporting oil because there's a siege. So if they take it, it's a flat island, and the Iranians will just simply start hammering it day and night and kill U.S. troops. And so is that going to stop Iran? I mean, right now Iran is striking U.S. bases in Jordan. That's like 1,000 kilometers away, or in West.
This is actually incredible, how far that they're able to strike. There's some book. Yes. Here it's called Journey to the Heading 270 Degrees. This is like a really controversial book inside of Iran when it was first released. It is like I think it's like fiction, but it is based on a guy who fought in the Iran-Iraq war. And yeah, actually, that is a heinous aspect of the Iran-Iraq war that is also really similar to the First World War as well. The Iraqis were just using, well, Saddam, I would say, and Iraq was constantly using chemical weapons. It was actually one of the reasons they ended the war as well. Khomeini started to fear that the Iraqis would fire Scud missiles and missiles generally filled with nerve agents at populated Iranian cities and would cause like mass casualty events. But this book is about it's about a high school student who goes to the Iran-Iraq war, and his friend goes, and I've read like a short excerpt from it. It's disgusting. It's really, really disgusting. Actually, the imagery still sticks with me now. It's about like someone who gets run over by a tank. It's just awful. I would recommend you checking it out. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting thing if any of you are big novelists who are interested in this. Khomeini feared USA would join the war. They already had kind of joined the war as well, right? I think Graham also possessed Chris. No, Graham didn't possess me. We can now talk about Lindsey Graham in the past tense. Ya Allah, mashallah, this Graham guy. Thank you for dying, Mr. Graham.
From Saudi Arabia. So why does Iran need to be standing alongside the shores of the Persian Gulf or the Strait of Hormuz to block ships? This is not like the 18th century. It's not even the 20th century. This is the 21st century. It's the era of missiles and drones. So if Iran can hit U.S. bases in Jordan and destroy their key assets, or in Saudi Arabia or elsewhere, then what purpose would it have for them to carry out this sort of attack? I find it amazing that he ever became a general at all. But I think the most important thing here for me is that if this war expands, first of all, if the global economy collapses, that means the U.S. economy will collapse. And I think that the United States will have to withdraw, not just from our region, but from across the globe. A global economic depression will mean that we will all lose jobs will be lost, businesses will collapse, factories will shut down, there won't be money, insecurity everywhere. I don't think he quite comprehends what that means for the globe. Tens of millions of people, perhaps maybe hundreds of millions of people will be.
I don't know fully about predictions of doom, but it doesn't feel that impossible. It does not feel that impossible. I mean, also, by the way, some of you are mentioning the ICC. Did any of you see that Venezuela was pulled out of the ICC because of bias against the global south? AKA Marco Rubio told them, pull out or we're going to kill you, Delcy Rodriguez.
On the move. I mean, imagine, let's say, Latin America, people losing their livelihood. Where are they going to go? I mean, North America may not be any better, but people will still go to North America. It's sort of like the Grapes of Wrath, where people went to California, moved towards California, even though things weren't all that great over there either. So I don't think they quite comprehend what that means. And there's another factor as well. Yemen is now in the fight. The resistance in Iraq is larger than the resistance in Lebanon. They have at least 150,000, maybe 200,000 people right now prepared to fight, and they're well armed. So you have Iran, you have the resistance in Iraq.
Is that true? The PMF apparently claims up to 230,000. Wow. But there would be other groups alongside this, but they apparently had 60,000 in 2014. So they follow Sistani.
You have Yemen. Who does the United States have? It has, like, what, Bahrain? It has the Emirates? I mean, do they even have a fighting force? And now Saudi Arabia they can't export oil. These are countries that are literally almost 100% dependent on oil or gas.
The other thing, by the way, about this is the other thing is these economies, by the way, Saudi and the Emirates in particular, have tried to diversify their economy. Their major diversification is really, really, really bad because, okay, their diversification was, we want to do tourism, sport kind of stuff. Do you think people are really going to want to go when there's like, yeah, actually, the Ansar Allah, the Houthis might just fire some fucking missiles at you?
Deserts. And if their critical infrastructure is destroyed, then tens of millions of people will have to leave the Arabian Peninsula. Again, I don't think he quite understands what an all-out war means. And they already tried that anyway with Iran. I mean, you can't get higher than Ayatollah Khamenei. They martyred him.
Khamenei. See, I am saying it right.
We didn't have a leader for 2 weeks because the assembly that chooses the leader in accordance with the Constitution couldn't gather together for 2 weeks because of the strikes. So for 2 weeks, we didn't have a leader. We had a council in accordance with the Constitution, but still they fought back. The streets were being cleaned at nights. People were going to supermarkets. No one emptied the shelves of supermarkets. So why does he even think that if they try that again, it's going to succeed? The only difference is that if they go after Iran's critical infrastructure this time round, Iran is going to do the same, and we're going to literally be living in a completely different world if that happens.
Yeah. Well, Professor Morandi, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Interesting. Next podcast guest, I go to prison for talking to Morandi. I'm sure that'll happen. Yeah. Oh, also, by the way, apparently Katy Perry has recently, maybe less Trump doesn't understand the ramifications and more that he doesn't care about the ramifications. I guess at a certain point, Trump is of the opinion that he can just do whatever he wants. So, he can do whatever he wants and there'll be no consequences. So he'll keep doing whatever he wants. Katy Perry is upset that her military propaganda song is being used for military propaganda. So let's have a look at this. I am deeply appalled and angry to see firework used on the White House TikTok account as a backing track for video footage of military strikes. I did not approve this. I was not asked, and I absolutely do not condone it. Wait, quick question. Do you think that Macklemore would be okay if the White House used his song, the one that's like, when I was in the 3rd grade, I thought I was gay because I kept my room straight. When I was in the 3rd grade, I thought I was gay. If they used it on like a remembrance video for Lindsey Graham, like just a video of Lindsey Graham like walking around with the song. When I was in the 3rd grade, I thought I was gay because I could draw. My uncle was, and I kept my room straight. I reckon Macklemore should have to have that happen and should be accepting of that. Also, by the way, Firework by Katy Perry is straight up, like, the song. No, wait, no, it's not. Firework isn't that. It's This Is the Part of Me that you're never gonna take away from me. That's the one that's military propaganda. Sorry, look at the fucking thumbnail! She only approved the sparkly, colourful bombs. Yeah, maybe if they'd use This Is the Part of Me. By the way, Katy Perry music videos having 1 billion views is just insane. What's her most popular song? Raw has 4.3 billion views. Juicy J x Katy Perry for Dark Horse has 4.2 billion. I don't even know what that goes like. Bon Appetit by Migos, I don't think I've ever heard. I like the one that got away. That is a good one. Actually, Trump should legally be forced to use YMCA on a video commemorating Lindsey Graham. Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man. Imagine if at the state funeral for Lindsey Graham, Trump is like, can we play the song? And it's just YMCA. That would be that would be a great idea. Migos. Oh no, you pronounced the name of a band wrong. The time in middle school, and I would hate it because our mascot was a tiger and we played that was Raw. I know. To request it out of the blue. I think he is. Imagine he did it. Imagine he requested it at the funeral. Would be quality. Why? Because Lindsey Graham passed away, and I don't think passing away is a good experience, okay? And Lindsey Graham is dead, and that's bad for him. And YMCA is a song about a young man picking himself up off the ground. It's a nice song for dead Lindsey Graham to listen to. You know, Lindsey Graham was a really nice man who's dead, and I'm really sad about Lindsey Graham, the nice man who died. Can't be seen as MAGA. I went to a restaurant that her and Trudeau went to for my anniversary / Valentine's Day combined into one. It was very nice. Le violin in Montreal. It's in French. Very good restaurant. Lindsey Graham is dead. Ding dong, the wicked bitch is dead. I maybe shouldn't have read out bitch, but it's in relation to Lindsey Graham. I do apologise to that, and it's also a reference to Margaret Thatcher, so I wouldn't normally use that word in a derogatory manner. Did you see the Spanish World Cup champion player make fun of... Yeah, was it... I can't remember who it was. Lindsey is a former young man. Yes. And he's... Lindsey... There is a place that Lindsey Graham could go, and it's the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. And... you know, isn't one of them dressed as like a military man as well? Young man, are you listening to me? I said, young man, what do you want to be? I said, young man, you can make real your dreams, but you've got to know one thing. No man does it all by himself. I said, young man, put your pride on the self and just go there to the YMCA. I'm sure they can help you today. Lindsey Graham lived by those words. He lived and died by the sword. The sword of being a lawyer in the military. Anyway, right, let's listen to what they're saying about Katy Perry has to say. I wrote this song to be an anthem of hope, healing, and inner strength for people going through their darkest personal moments. To see a message of self-worth and upliftment weaponized to soundtrack destruction and violence is a complete violation of everything my song stands for. My music is for bringing people together, not celebrating warfare. My favorite one was when they used Run Through the Jungle. Run Through the Jungle. They did do that, didn't they? Trump posted Run Through the Jungle. Run Through the Jungle, didn't he? I'm sure he posted Run Through the Jungle, which is like an anti-Vietnam war song by... Is it Creedence Clearwater Revival? That is a banger, to be fair. Oh, thought he was a nightmare. I swear Trump did do that, but yeah, maybe I've made that up. Upliftment is an interesting word. I don't really recall it. I'm just checking out Clash Report. I'm just seeing if Clash Report are saying anything interesting or new.
Lithuanians, Jewish people from these countries. Why they spoke Russian language? Because first of
Zelensky is talking about cultural erasure by the Soviet Union, which, you know, there is truth to. Oh, maybe it was Fortunate Son. It was Fortunate Son. That's what it was. Yes, it was Fortunate Son, not Run Through the Jungle. Run Through the Jungle's the better song, though. Whoa, thought he was a nightmare. Wasn't their lead singer a draft dodger as well? It's just so funny that they chose him. But yeah, I think Macklemore should be forced to give his song to the... I think he should be forced to give his song to the... he should be forced to give his song to Lindsey Graham's state funeral. Rock song from that time is anti-war. Yeah, I mean, most are. There are definitely some pro-war songs, though, aren't there? It's like how Born in the USA, it's kind of the problem with Born in the USA, right? Born in the Born in the USA is obviously about the Korean War, isn't it? And people treat it like it's some epic thing. I have just seen quite possibly the most insane tweet imaginable. Breaking, US military activates Project Bluebeam over Tehran, projecting Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey onto the night sky in a bold new psychological op designed to turn the entire population gay. Being online has destroyed my faith in egalitarianism, because how am I supposed to not feel superior to people who are amused by shit like this? I am amused by this, but not in the sense of, like, thinking that this is, you know, funny as what it is. But I think it is funny that that someone AI generated this for people, and that someone AI generated this as something that people would enjoy. And this guy's, like, supposed to be anti-Iran war or something. By the way, these people, like, these people who think, like, The Odyssey is, like, woke and gay, what do you think Iranian films are about? I'm confused. Is Nolan's The Odyssey so good they become gay? Is that what they are saying? No, it's because Elliot Page is in it. So they're like, yeah, it's woke and gay. And because they have a black person in it as well. Also, I saw an incredible tweet from Khalil Sayer. Khalil Sayer is one of these, like, he's in the Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib mold, but even to this guy, I feel it offensive to compare this guy to Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib, because Khatib is a different beast in terms of his worldview. It's fucking insane. Two things must be emphasized. Palestinians have the right to defend themselves against Israel by targeting Israeli soldiers. However, when Palestinian militias attack Israeli civilians, as Hamas does, it is not resistance, it is a war crime. What is this? What are you talking about here? Like, yeah, targeting civilians can be a war crime, 100%. But are settlers civilians is the real question. Original Greeks would never be gay. They put into the prompt that guy put into the chatbot to get that video. I don't even think that is something that I can do. Two Israelis in the West Bank in the northern part is tragic, and after hundreds of similar incidents in which violent action spiral into deadly, I remain committed to non-violence strategically and morally because no one... Yet this year alone, we have seen villages burned, homes destroyed, livestock killed, civilians beaten, land seized, and new illegal outposts erected. Israeli authorities have consistently failed to prosecute violent settlers or Palestinian communities. Yesterday's incident began as a fight between two... Wait, is Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib on the side of this? One armed and the other unarmed, but briefly able to overpower a man with the firearm. Does that justify killing? Absolutely not. What are you even talking about? If someone approaches you with a gun and their belief is that they have a superiority over you on the basis of their race, I don't give a shit. Yeah, they have a right to use that gun on you if you were threatening to kill them, if you steal their land and inflict this harm upon you. Would you rather have a Yonomi Park daughter or an Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib son? Yonomi Park because Yonomi Park is funny. Yonomi Park is really funny. Sadly, no. When two populations live in close proximity under rising tensions fueled by political factions within the Israeli government that openly support and resource settler violence, deadly outcomes become inevitable. The Greeks invented gayness. Yeah. We're just civilians with guns and an army behind us. I know. They're poor civilians.
Did the Jewish people to be an instrument?
God. Right, let's get into this West Bank stuff. I actually really want to start the West Bank stuff. So I'll just give a brief thing because I might turn this into a YouTube video. Look. There we go. Did you see that? That was fucking sick. Ben Gvir has said the most insane statement that you've ever seen. No, I muted myself. Fuck. Okay, that's funny. That is funny. Okay, I apologize for muting myself. I fixed it now. We're gonna just have to start this in the same way we would. That is exactly what I'm saying. You guys, I fucking love sending you guys wild when I say muted. You're like, oh, muted, yay! And you're like clapping your hands together that you're so excited to tell me that I'm muted. Oh, Chris, I can't wait to tell you that you're muted, Chris. Ooh, Chris, you're muted. Ooh. Okay, so I can't do what I was hoping to do. Wait, is this behind? No, it's not behind the chat. Okay, I won't do it then. I'll just pop myself back down here. Okay, yeah, so following on from the story of a Palestinian man who was able to overpower an Israeli settler and soldier and kill him alongside another soldier, the Israelis have reacted in the most normal way that they know how, which is just going, I love to exterminate Palestinians. So Ben-Gvir's tweet wouldn't even translate yesterday, but here it is. The cities and villages of the murderers in Judea and Samaria will be judged like Beit Hanun in Gaza. If you don't know what's going on in Beit Hanun is just like wiped off the map. That's what Israel has done there. Is he muted? Can't do anything. I'm back. I am back. I am on my way to the Prime Minister for a small cabinet meeting where I will demand that he order the IOF to wipe out from the air and through D9 the homes of terrorists and their supporters and to exact from the terrorists the price they deserve. D9 is in reference to, obviously, a D9 Caterpillar bulldozer. By the way, if you've never seen what a D9 bulldozer looks like, they are fucking insane. This is an image of a D9 bulldozer. Look at this fucking horrifying piece of machinery. But yeah, listen to this. For every Jew murdered, the enemy must suffer the loss of land and homes. This is the language spoken in the Middle East. And just as we spoke it in Gaza, it is time to speak it in Judea and Samaria as well. It is fucking unbelievable that this man openly feels comfortable talking like this, that this man feels that this is like a thing that he should say. This is like Nazism. This is just something. I was actually trying to find access to Goebbels' Kristallnacht speech, but it's kind of similar in the sense of like, okay, so Goebbels' Kristallnacht speech, from what I can understand, is Goebbels says at about 10 p.m. that there will be protests and they won't do anything about them, that they won't crack down on them, that they will allow organic protests to arise, and that's what spawns Kristallnacht, although they're already, you know, enabling it to happen. Nothing to see but craters and rubble. Yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, that's what they've done to it. That's what they've done to Beit Hanun. That's what they want to do in the West Bank. They want to drive out all the Palestinians out of it. Oh, okay. I didn't know you could find it. Hey, Butterfan. Butterfan, thank you for gifting thank you for the gifted sub. Incredibly kind. And by the way, gifted subs over there actually fucking work, which is nice. But thank you for supporting the channel. But yeah, it is like watching Kristallnacht unfold. And what you're seeing in the West Bank is exactly this. So, Dropsite, I mean, we all have our problems with Dropsite, but we know that they do great reporting. Again, thank you so much. And also, if there's anyone over on Twitch who has a Prime going, throw that Prime my way. It's incredibly appreciated. So this is 1 out of 6. Settlers have set up an outpost less than 24 hours after Palestinians were killed and 4 others wounded. So sorry, 4 wounded, 3 critically, after Israeli settlers attacked the town of Tel, southwest of Nablus, under the protection of Israeli forces. Within 24 hours, a UK-sanctioned contractor uprooted hundreds of olive trees.
I love burgers and living in Israel.
Wow, Woke Militia goated. Thank you for the 5 subs over on Twitch. Thank you for supporting the channel as always. We just hit that little sub goal. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Goated, Holy Oiler. Thank you as always for supporting the channel. Woke Militia goated. Thank you for being here and commenting as always. Oh, also, by the way, I've always found that actually to be a really perverse thing about Mayor Kahana. Their slogan of Kahana was right is actually true in the sense of Kahana did speak for Israelis. Like, Kahana is Israel. Kahana is the end logic of Zionism. Anyway, let's just pull this back to here. Within 24 hours, a UK-sanctioned contractor uprooted hundreds of olive trees. The outpost went up on the same site, and settlers filmed themselves narrating what comes next. The retaliation against the murderous people's village has begun. By the way, you know when people are like, Israelis are the same as Americans? 100% true. Listen to how...
Welcome to the Burger Reich.
Fit TT, you've just become a member for 6 months. Thank you so much. That is halfway to a year. My goat. Thank you as always, my man. But This is exactly how the American military has literally been speaking about Iranians. They're like, if you kill a US soldier, we have the right to do whatever we want to you. If you kill a US soldier, we're allowed to do anything and everything. I need to make a TikTok about this right now because this is just Israeli Kristallnacht. The contractor is listening to some shitty Israeli music in his killdozer. Look at me go. The ethnically inferior people are having their land destroyed because they dared to kill one of my 6 soldiers. The ethnically inferior people will be punished. I genuinely cannot believe that this is just a reality that is ongoing in our lifetime. I love burgers! Trusthaft, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Incredibly kind. Thank you so much for subscribing. Goated, thank you for supporting the channel. Are the same as Americans, or are you saying all Americans are like Israelis? I'm saying that what I'm saying is, if you listen to the lexicon of how, like, Trump and his lackeys were talking about what was happening to what would happen to Iranians for killing US soldiers, it's the same shit. These people literally believe soldiers who sign up to the military knowing that they will fight battles and will potentially die somehow deserve to have their life avenged by Palestinians or innocent people in the Middle East just being massacred. Like, these people are the same. And I mean, yeah, America's a settler colony, so it's kind of similar. It's just not active and it doesn't have, like, you know, a draft system is the fundamental difference. And also, there are at least a lot of, like, you know, unfortunately, politically, it hasn't manifested, but you do see a lot of Americans who just aren't, like, massive backers of the American project, whereas it is genuinely really hard to find Israelis who aren't. Like, that's not an exaggeration. So, this sanctioned organization, Harel Libby, placed on the UK sanctions list for violence against Palestinians. Within hours of the attack, his company brought in more than 10 excavators and began tearing through the village's olive groves. The settlers filmed themselves. You see here a caravan which, God willing, will strip bare the land, establish more farms. The excavators working up there towards the village, and the party is over. Soon the village is going down. Sorry, I think that it is also worth showing the statement here in full. The real Jewish honor will be restored through blood for blood. We also just hit 850 of the subscribers, which is crazy. We're actually up to 855, but that is actually incredible. It's as impossible to find a Yankee who isn't a nationalist. I don't know, I feel like I've encountered more, but perhaps that's just because America is a bigger place. By the next morning, settlers had built an outpost on the exact site of the attack. Families already moving in, land seized, hundreds of trees gone. By the way, is this not what human shields are? Like, they're always like, oh, Hamas uses human shields. What do you think this is? Oh, there are also reports of a shooting. There are reports of a shooting. Someone mentioned this earlier. Mandela, I think, mentioned it. The Israeli army says it's received reports of shooting in Susia. An armed settler confronted by local Palestinians who seized his weapon and fled. Fucking hell. Blood for Blood is a great movie. Yeah, it's not a great movie when these people just talk it, when these people are talking about how they're going to just kill Palestinians. The moves come after Netanyahu and Katz said they have launched a series of military operations in retaliation for the settlers' death, while National Security Minister Ben-Gvir said Palestinian villages in the occupied West Bank should be made to resemble Beit Hanun. The Gaza town Israeli forces have razed to the ground. Central Command Chief Avi Bluth has been explicit about the doctrine. Curfews, encirclement, and what he calls reshaping operations applied to any village that raises a hand against Israeli settlers. This is why I don't trust Andy Burnham one bit. One of my friends was talking to me about Andy Burnham, and they were like, oh, you know, and Andy Burnham is he said these things about Palestine. He said they got it wrong. If Andy Burnham was actually going to do something about Palestine, he would be like uncritical support to Palestinians in their fight against the Israeli occupation. That is doing something about Palestine and taking tangible steps that any fucker who gets involved with this stuff, that any British Israeli citizen who joins the military, who goes over, is treated as a war criminal who participated in crimes against the Palestinians. I'm sorry, like, you should be held to account. Like, look at what Hila Klein does and how normally she talks about her crimes against the Palestinians. You know? It's worse than a lot of other countries on every metric. Definitely. The US's crimes are like extend also far beyond what the Israelis are capable of. They just do. It's categorically true. I think that the truth is the only thing is like what I'm saying is I interact with more Americans because I know at least a lot of you watching me are actually Americans who are not pro like what America does, whereas I meet so few Israelis who've interacted with my content. There are actually a couple of people who do, but it's only been a minute amount. Hila is a small business owner. Fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, thank you for the train over on there. Yeah, reverse Palestine action ban and free the prisoners. Do I condemn Hamas? Of course I do. It's a designated terror organization. Reminder, 100 million Native Americans died as a result of European colonization. 100%. 100%. And yeah, I mean, there's an example of an American criminal who talked about it very recently, about his crimes. He even said that they were for freedom. He fought for freedom. He said, this is not the kind of freedom that I fought for. Anyway, I'm just going to focus on what's happening in the West Bank for a second, though, because this, I feel like, is a really important story. So the Israeli hikers are back. By the way, that looks like a... Wait, I'm actually going to save this image because I kind of want to see what it looks like. That looks like a baby, like a toddler. They've just brought their kid with them on their... They've brought their little girls with them whilst they're carrying guns on their trip to go and harm the ethnically inferior. The person asking is joking, by the way. Like, these people just straight up... This isn't a protest. This is bringing your children to your pogrom. Bringing your children to participate in stealing Palestinian land. They've also been storming it under the guise of a hike, the same village. These hikes are apparently a new tactic to settlers to enter and intimidate Palestinians. Bring your kid to colonize day. Deputy Speaker Nissim Vaturi is calling for the Palestinian village yesterday to be erased. By the way, explicitly, the genocidal rhetoric going on in Israel is truly unbelievable. Like, Israel has categorically failed to punish genocidal rhetoric. This guy is just straight up like, I want to erase all Palestinians, and he's I want to erase an entire village of Palestinians, and he's the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset. They should take a hike the fuck out of there. Yeah, you know what? When many people say go back to Europe, there's a lot of settlers who are Americans. They should go back to America. Specifically in the West Bank, there's like tens of thousands of Americans. I think it might nearly number 100,000. To settlers, hate crimes are family bonding. 100%. I've heard people defend Israeli settlers attacking Palestinian communities by claiming they were just hiking. Why can it... That's the start of a military family. Are there people who still deny the genocide? Yep, there are of course people who still deny the genocide. There are of course people who deny the genocide. There are so many people who love doing everything in their power to deny the genocide. Right, let's pull up a video about this. I see Isaac has uploaded a video. What was I going to look at? The West Bank. There's no one even... Yeah. Deadly West Bank shooting. It is crazy that this is just an ongoing reality for Palestinians. Bring your kid to Genocide Day. Hiking with your automatic machine gun. I get Glencore. What on earth is Glencore? Bringing children to a political or religious protest is fucking disgusting. See, I think that there's somewhat of a difference in the case of, like, when it comes to Palestinians, okay, a lot of these people are experiencing an Israeli occupation. Children are impacted by that protest, by the occupation. It's not surprising that Palestinian children end up participating in protests. When it comes to Israelis, they're literally just engaged in ethnic cleansing. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. That's their job. That's their role. Also, Tehran Taig is posting this Look at this. Have you ever seen that photo of a kid dressed in KKK robes touching the shield of a black police officer? No, I've never seen that. Also, apparently this is a quarry in Nablus. Fucking insane. It is just insane that this is, by the way, sanctioned by a government, that my government does everything that it can to protect, you know, that my government continually enables and protects. There are also videos of just the collective punishment going on. What can we even do to help? Just watch. Talk about it. As an individual, you can convince people around you that this is one of the greatest atrocities in our life, and the greatest atrocity that we are directly implicated in, the greatest atrocity that we are, you know, just funding and enabling non-fucking stop. Like, just look at this. Them just marching people. They also... It's crazy as well, because during the Gaza genocide, this didn't get much attention. They basically ethnically cleansed entire villages. They ethnically cleansed entire Palestinian villages.
יוצרים באופן מודע חיכוך. אתם יוצרים באופן מודע הרחבה של קו המגע, של הפרימטר, של הדברים האלה.
There's a video here of Elisha Yared, who murdered a Palestinian man called Qusay Mutan. Qusay Mutan was murdered by Israeli settlers in 2023. I remember the story. Elisha Yared was involved in his murder, and he just got banned from the West Bank was his punishment. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, if you want to understand what happened yesterday in the Palestinian village of Tel, this is the context. Israeli settler terrorist Elisha Yared has openly admitted that Israeli settlers deliberately provoked Palestinians into responding to their attacks, using that response as a pretext to attack Palestinians. Unfortunately, the video is in Hebrew, so I can't really play it because I don't understand it, but I'm sure that this person is not lying. It is just fucking insane that this is just the reality of the West Bank. I'll see what Andre X has been posting. This is Sheikh Farouk Ramadan. Yesterday afternoon, he and his family were attacked by settler terrorists on their own land. Farouk managed to disarm one of the attackers. He took the settler's rifle and shot and killed 2 terrorists in a clear act of self-defense. In response, Israeli soldiers murdered him and 3 of his family members. Israeli government and media portrays him as a terrorist and the actual terrorists as victims. Don't let them push this narrative. Farouk had a full legal and moral right to resist against the genocidal terrorists who invaded his land. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the problem. Wally Rashid has a great summary. Okay, we'll watch that. Oh, thank you for sending the photos. This story it's not loaded the photos. I can't find Wally Rashid's summary.
Shady.
I think Wally Rashid follows me. I don't know. God, I always forget like how big my TikTok is, but I just don't
what's
post.
Happening in the West Bank today. Look at this video. These are hundreds of Israeli settlers right now running down hilltops, storming Palestinian villages. This is like straight up medieval pogroms type of thing. Here's another video.
But I will show you the problem of trying to talk about this kind of stuff. Okay, so Wally Rashid's video has 17,000 likes on TikTok. He has 59k views.
If you haven't seen what's happening, this is like straight up medieval pogrom.
Whereas and the other problem is why you've seen this stuff die off is this isn't sustainable to make content like this. This guy's pretty fucking popular, you know? This guy is pretty fucking popular guy. There's no way he could have been able to maintain this because you're not getting any way of earning money. Whereas every single Israeli outlet that is doing like news and reporting on Palestine, these people are just being paid by foreign governments and foreign organizations, NGO that are like, yeah, please do some propaganda about the state of Israel for us. Please, please, please. They all get jobs at fucking Kufi or in Israel or wherever. And hello, Sarah. Good to hear from you.
This type of thing. Here's another video. He's saying, everybody, these are the settlers coming down into our village. This is crazy. This is happening right now in the Northwest Bank near Nablus, the main city, surrounding villages, including my family's village. It's not even dark yet, and for those who don't know, they wait till night to do the worst stuff. So tonight at midnight, it's going to be terrifying in the West Bank. The whole place is going to be lit on fire. Please call your congressman and tell them to co-sponsor the West Bank Violence Prevention Act. You can go to votelog.org, my website, scroll down, find your congressman's phone number, check if they're co-sponsoring the West Bank Violence Prevention Act. If they're not, call their DC phone number and ask.
By the way, if you're ever interested in what I've said when I said Israel is the only one with an active frontier, because someone just mentioned the Wild West in the context of calling it the Wild West Bank, what the term frontier specifically means and refers to is a space of lawlessness where effectively settlers interact with the indigenous people. That is exactly what's going on in the West Bank. You literally have this space where there are no laws for Jews, pretty much, because they are Jews. That's it. There is no law for Jewish people in the West Bank.
Them to co-sponsor the West Bank Violence Prevention Act. If you haven't seen
it is just... Also, this is someone who's like a bit of a lib Zionist, I think. But here he is saying Jewish supremacy is when only Jews are allowed to defend themselves. When it's a terror attack, only when Jews are harmed by it. When both the media and in the coalition and in the opposition, they always accept the narrative as Israeli settlers and of the army simply because they are Jews. Jewish supremacy is the disease of our politics, and sadly, the Democrats' party also suffers from it. Does he mean the US Democrats? What is deadwood? I don't know what that is. But if you're describing like settlers going into people's land, it's just, yeah, it's exactly what it is. My buddy was visiting me here in Japan, and somebody walked into, you know, a regular tourist spot. Everyone was talking about where they're from. A few people walked in and said, hey, we're from Israel, and no one talks to them. I wonder why. Hello, Tony Soprano lover. Hello, haven't seen you here in a while. Where are you? Do you hate me now or something? What the fuck's going on? But hello, Tony. Good to see you. You know. But yeah, like, this is just true. 10 armed... Wait. Look, listen to this Israeli guy justifying it. 10 armed Jews and no shooting. 1 armed Palestinian and there's murder. Have you ever wondered why they are such little devil? It is incredible to hear the thoughts and feelings of what's going on in the Israeli military. Do you think if I made a TikTok calling that guy a hero, I'd get in trouble? Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Who cares? I'll get a strike on my TikTok account. What can you say?
Everything is
Let's have a listen to Gideon Levy.
coordinating, orchestrated, supported, and financed, and above all, defended by the Israeli army, by the Israeli government. And we shouldn't see it as some kind of initiative of individuals. It is Israel's policy to try to tyrannize the Palestinians and to try to kick them away from the right happening.
Oh my gosh. You know.
Any right for self-defense. Because what happened today is clearly self-defense of the Palestinians, and now they are going to pay a hell of a price for trying to defend themselves. Hundreds and hundreds of violent settlers who are doing it now for months and months without being brought to justice, without anyone stopping them. So obviously it's all political. We are in elections times. Netanyahu wants to show that he is going with the most extreme fascist in his government.
I mean, it's true. It's true. Unfortunately, though, this is what Israel is. This is what Israeli society has become. Well, it's what Israeli society always was. It's also just incredible because it's almost impossible to keep up with what the Israelis do to Palestinians because they just mass murder them fucking constantly in the West Bank, in Gaza, in all of these, in all over. They never fucking stop. God bless and save Gideon Levy. Yeah, Gideon Levy does have some pretty, like, I rarely see him saying insane shit, but, Haaretz is still not an outlet that I have a lot of love for at times. But I do worry that what is the end point of this, you know? What is the end point of what Israel is doing in the West Bank, aside from just ethnically cleansing Palestinians? I don't really see anything else as to what it is, you know? I think that the end point of what Israel does is to remove the Palestinian people by making life impossible in the West Bank. That's what they want to do. That's it. It's as simple as that. Do I have anything else that I wanted to talk about? No. Okay, guys. I might call the stream here. Yeah, in fact, I am going to call the stream here because I got to call Isaac after this. I'm actually going to go and make a TikTok real quick about the guy who was killed by the Israelis because I think it's worth it. I think it's worth uploading something. I thank you guys all for coming. I thank you guys all for supporting, donating, becoming members. It's always greatly appreciated. Who like, comment, and share. Straight after this, there's going to be a video about Clavicular up, like literally right after this. So if you guys want to check that out, please come and please go and watch it if you'd like. yeah, feel free. But thank you all so much. Have a lovely rest of the day. And see you guys soon. I'll see you tomorrow, actually, most likely. And we'll be back to standard streaming soon. See you guys soon.